good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and look at these handsome gentlemen around me today, folks. We have an incredible show for you today. We have a very special guest joining us back-to-back weeks with some hot off the presses Fallout 5 news. Skullsy TV, brother. Listen, I cannot thank you enough for hanging out with us. How the heck are you, brother? And welcome back.
I am doing awesome. Great to be back. It's always a fun time talking. We got a lot of awesome topics to talk about today. So yeah, I'm super grateful for being back. Hopefully everyone is excited to dive into today's topics.
Yeah, I think we're gonna open up with a very serious toned topic, something that I am very, very proud that we do on this particular program. I want to see more content creators tackle topics that we're gonna cover. I think that gaming is great, folks. I think being able to get away from the problems of the world, which we have a lot right now, gaming is our escapism, if you will, and I love it. I love visiting new worlds and meeting new characters. But every now and again, a story crosses my news desk, and I look at it, and most content creators will shy away from the controversy. I find a way to discuss it like adults, have a big opinions, and headed face on. And one of those topics is going to be Mundfish, which of course we know that they are the developers of AtomicHeart, one of the most anticipated games of the year, but unfortunately is shrouded, folks, in controversy. We're going to get into that controversy to open the show, but let me continue. Retry, brother, how the heck are you? And finally, next week, you'll have some news to have on Xbox Game Pass Daily. I mean, for the love of Joe.
I know. I don't know what the heck is going on over at Xbox Wire. They haven't posted in over a month. I don't know what you guys are doing. I know you're back at work. I'm following you guys on Twitter, so I don't know what's happening.
Brother out, please. Come on, help a brother out. Let's go.
I mean, we got games this week. I was at least able to do a show and talk about games that are coming out this week, and they're big ones. I mean, we got Monster Hunter Rise and Persona 3 and 4. So yeah. I'm just, I don't want to complain, but as we always say, the marketing and messaging is just the crickets right now. So hopefully,
you know what?
Hopefully next week.
I mean, we did get the confirmation for the 25th, which is in a couple weeks. Yep. We're all very excited for that. That is coming in about, I don't know, 7 or 8 days.
Yep.
I'm very excited for that. But we definitely need some games. And you know what? Monster Hunter Rise is a big one. Persona 3 and 4, those are monster games in there. But it's going to be very interesting to see what. Did anyone take a chance and look at YouTube for the Wu Long story trailer? I mean, yes,
I haven't looked at it yet.
It looks so good. I played the demo. Demo was fire. And I think it is it's another one of those games that are in Game Pass that are going to turn heads.
Yeah.
I agree.
I glanced at it, but I didn't watch it all the way. I'm earlier. I confused the date. Was like, thought I had something. I'm like, hey, so
what are we? Information, y'all.
All right, 3/2/2023 looks suspicious, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I don't think Starfield is releasing on this day.
Yeah, but it is the 3rd. It is 3/3/23. But listen, at the end of the day, Umbra, how the heck are you, brother? Are you feeling okay? You ready to rock and roll?
Oh, I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm absolutely ready to rock and roll. I'm excited to be here with you, gentlemen. And yeah, we got a good cast here today. Absolutely.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Daniel McGee, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Feeling great. I think it's going to be another wonderful show. Glad we got Skullsy back for this one.
Yeah. Obviously, the Fallout tech conversation is going to be something. I'm looking forward to that. We have some big opinions on when the next Fallout is coming. As a matter of fact, we may even discuss of who's doing the next Fallout. Is Obsidian going to be called to the carpet? That's a good question. They have a lot on their plate, but man, if there's a studio that could take on another task, it would be them, and we know that they want to. But returning to his chair that we kept nice and toasty warm, N64, Josh, what's up, brother? How you feeling?
What is going on? I am so excited to be back, and I thought upon my return, I'd start bringing some random Xbox facts. So here you go. The logo and branding of Xbox are green. because the only color the designer, Horace Luke, had available after all his nice marker pens were stolen, at least according to Samus Blackley,
was green.
Apparently, it was the green that nobody wanted.
Holy cow. Look at that. Xbox facts so early in the show. I love it, brother. That's pretty interesting. And if that in fact is the case, just imagine someone did the world a favor and now we have Xbox green, right? I mean, it's the craziest thing.
There you go. So
Well,
so
listen,
glad to be
folks.
back. Much love, guys.
It's great to have you back, honestly. But I definitely want to get into one of the again, folks. This is a big topic. This is a heavy topic. Mundfish is a developer that has been hard at work on AtomicHeart, one of the most anticipated Bioshock Esq games for 2023. But unfortunately, besides the game looking absolutely amazing and the small team doing something of epic proportion on delivering what appears to be a high quality AAA experience, unlike anything we have experienced since the Bioshock series graced the Xbox 360 era, we have some controversy, folks. And it's a controversy that is as big as the world. Obviously, as a police officer, as a retired now police officer, I have seen many horrors. 9/11 being one of them. I spent many weeks down at Ground Zero. And in my lifetime, you never want to see one horror more than the last one you saw because, well, that's just not the way I like to see the world. I like to see the world through rose-colored glasses, rainbows and unicorns all day for me, right? Well, unfortunately, about a year ago, or maybe even a little bit longer now, Russia invaded a country, and the horrors that have come out of Ukraine, the destruction that has come out of Ukraine is unlike anything most people will experience for their life. What has also come out are some incredible stories of heroism, of survival, of standing up to a bully, which is what Russia is considered. And I say all of that to say, folks, where does Mundfish fall into this? Well, they have found themselves under the microscope of the gaming community. And I would imagine that some of it is righteous, but I think some of it is also packed with falsities. I think that there is a lot to discuss. I'm definitely going to go to Retri because he has a big opinion on this first. But I want to bring up why they're in the spotlight. From what it has been described by many, and again, there's no facts to this because I looked, and so did Retri, that this company at some point in the development of AtomicHeart were funded by the Russian government. Now, this studio was founded in 2019. I don't know because I looked, folks. Like, honestly, you know how I am about bringing evidence to the conversation. And I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked and I could not find any investment information regarding who has funded Mundfish when they started. Was it Russia? I don't know. Is Russia funding them now? I would say no, because they're not even in Russia. They're actually in Cyprus. Now, I looked it up last night because I did not know where Cyprus was. They're off the coast of Lebanon. They're in the Mediterranean Sea. It is a small island. This team of small developers, there's some talk on the interwebs that they're paying taxes to Russia. I don't know if that's true. Cyprus is close, but nowhere near Russia. If you look on the map, which I did, there has been questions as to why haven't they commented specifically on the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Well, I have their tweets in front of me, and I want to read them, and I want to get everyone's opinion because I'm going to be honest with you, folks. As a person, forget that I was a retired police officer. as a person, my father, who taught me unbelievable lessons of life, one of the things that stuck with me as a police officer is you can never put a race, creed, color, sexual orientation, or religion under an umbrella and point, right? You can't say bad, because if you do that, you're an asshole. My one curse of the day, I'm going to say it, okay? You must deal with people on an individual basis. That is how you learn who people really are. Now, I've seen many people post, they have Russian connections, they're no good. We have to boycott their game. Is that the right thing to do? Is that the kind of people that we are? That we're going to point the finger and say that they're no good because at some point they had ties to Russia, or maybe they were born in Russia, so they're not good people. Everyone in Russia is bad, and I would say that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because not everyone is bad. And as a matter of fact, we're going to get into what Retchie has to say about why people aren't speaking out against the war in Russia if they are Russian. But I want to read Mundfish's, who, of course, again, the developer of AtomicHeart, a highly anticipated Xbox Game Pass release. This is what they had to say, responding to people questioning why they have not specifically, called out this war. They say this, folks. Guys, we've noted the questions surrounding where we at Mundfish stand. We want to assure you that Mundfish, is a developer and a studio with a global team focused on an innovative game, and it's undeniably a pro-peace organization against violence against people. They go on to say, we do not comment on politics or religion. Rest assured, we are a global team focused on getting AtomicHeart into the hands of gamers everywhere. And they finish off by saying this: we do not and will not condone contributors or spammers with offensive, hateful, discriminatory, violent, or threatening language or content. End quote. Now, again, this is a heavy subject. This is probably not going to get us, the greatest of views, but I don't care, because I feel that as a person, as a human being, this is a conversation I am willing to take 20 minutes of this show to have with a group of men who I love as brothers, and I trust their opinions. And we will handle this like paraprofessionals. Retri, let's talk about it, brother. This is a highly anticipated, not an exclusive. It is going to come out on other platforms, but being in Game Pass is a big draw. Microsoft had to pay Mundfish a significant amount of money to get this game in. It was delayed multiple times because of the conflict. Where do you personally stand on the excitement for the game? And more importantly, the real heavy topic: do we point the finger at Mundfish and say bad?
Well, I am very excited about this title. As a Bioshock fan, I've been watching this one for a while, and the more I see AtomicHeart, the more excited I am. They just showed some more stuff the other day, and it looks absolutely fantastic. This is a touchy one. There's a lot of moving parts.
Here, look, to your point, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Finessful J, family would be in danger if they stood against Russia. Bingo. Speak on it, brother, because this is what we were talking about in the green room.
This is exactly what I was telling Boom earlier. We know they're not directly in Russia right now. That doesn't mean a lot of them are not working in Russia or their family members. You can't even wear the colors yellow and blue without getting a fine in Russia. There are politicians and people who have spoke out against the war that are in jail right now. So it's really easy on the other side of the world to say, I would do this. I would, I pound my chest. Why isn't Mundfish go out and saying definitively, F Russia, F this war, all that stuff? That's what they want them to say. because it could be dangerous. Would you put your family in danger over a video game? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. So I think, cancer culture and people are maybe jumping to conclusions here and, going a little off the deep end. This is reminding me of Hogwarts, which I also don't agree with. Just because there's a war happening in and around the country that you're developing in doesn't mean you support it. That's a ridiculous notion. And there are some rumors going around where the company who actually backed up Mundfish and gave them money and supported them, some company, I think it was called Gajin. I think I might be saying that wrong.
You're correct.
Okay. They're based out of Russia, or originally were. They've already moved. They're in Budapest, but they still have some headquarters in Moscow. Now, that's why a lot of people I see are complaining, because taxes are funding the war, essentially. I kind of get that, but it's not I don't see it as being Mundfish's fault, and I don't see, if you buy this game or support them, you're supporting the devs. People are suggesting you're supporting the war by doing that. I think that is a huge leap and kind of ridiculous.
I think it's a stretch. Yeah.
It's a huge stretch. And I think it's the minority really speaking out about this. It's the, sorry to say this, but the crazy people are usually, they're the loud ones, right? Like, the crazy guys on Twitter, they're usually the loudest. And we start to think that maybe that's the majority of people actually think this way. I don't think that's the case. I think they're just, the loud minority. Majority is going to play this game and support it. And I think many of us, I'm not speaking for anyone on this panel, but I think the vast majority of people don't see this as them supporting the war. I think, like you said, Boom, it's a huge leap. So I'm gonna be playing the crap out of this game. Comes out February 21st. I'm looking forward to it. Mundfish did say they are pro-peace organization against violence against people. Maybe they just didn't want to say specifically Russia, because
maybe they were afraid
going to jail over it.
Maybe they're afraid to say. And you know something?
Yes.
I applaud them for digging their heels in the sand, because, like I said, you think
they could get in trouble for what they already did. If they have family in Russia right now and they're still having developers over there, they could get absolutely in trouble for what they just did.
Yeah.
Make no mistake.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. Look this up. The stuff that's going on.
I love how the fact that the story, because this story was posted. Let me see if I could find it, because I find it to be ridiculous. The fact that the protagonist is a KGB agent, and somehow that's a bad thing. Like folks, it's fictional. It's not.
Right.
This is not happening right now. It's a fictional game with a fictional character with a fictional story.
I mean,
this is.
It's so silly, Boom, when you think about that part that you just mentioned. It's like, do you know how many terrible protagonists we've had to play with?
The fact that you have to say,
if
all
not
I have to say is Call of Duty Airport.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Exactly.
No Russian. Yes.
I mean, come on.
All you have to do is look at that.
Absolutely. No Russian. But biggest thing is Russia has been known to disappear people. This is not new. Like,
Right.
I wouldn't be saying anything either if I
Nope.
fearful of my family possibly being caught up.
There's travel YouTubers that have gone to Russia for years, and once this war started, they looked back at the YouTuber's videos and saw he said even the most smallest negative thing about the war, and they actually brought him in, questioned him, and banned him from the country. So it's that deep right now. I think his name is Bald and Bankrupt. You can actually see the videos of him being interviewed and Russia threatening him.
Wow.
I mean, you can't. It's like gang war over there. You can't even wear Ukrainian colors.
Yeah.
And if you have repeated offenses, you
They
go
kill
from
you.
paying hundreds of dollars to being in jail.
Yeah.
that's
not the worst.
Crazy.
That's not the worst of it.
No,
it's not. So listen, good stuff. Scalzi, let's get your hot take opinion on this. Like I said, I think this is a conversation that needs to be had. I again, folks, this is not an Xbox thing. This is a human being thing. Okay. And if you follow this channel for as long as I hope that you have, or you're new and you're finding us for the first time, these are the kinds of conversations that I want to see happen in the community. Because you got to understand, developing in a game, well, you know better than anyone, Scully, it's hard as shit. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and more importantly, it takes a lot of sacrifice and more than that, money. So these folks at Mundfish are trying to do something that they remember. The studio was founded in 2019. This is before the Ukraine-Russian war. I'm assuming that if they were funded by Russia at some point, it was at a time where Russia was not looked at as this bad guy that they are now due to this war. So the question that I have for you, Scolzy, is: do we blame Mundfish for this?
First, the quick answer is no, absolutely not. That's like you said earlier. They're trying to label everyone underneath the same umbrella, right? You can't do that.
Right.
Now I don't want to get into too many details. Generally, I try to keep politics out of my channel, but that's I do speak out on stuff that I just can't stand by and watch and not say anything. But with that being said, I am actually heavily ingrained in the Ukraine conflict. I have friends over there who are fighting right now. I have people who are doing some cyber stuff, like not me. I don't have like a team that's doing it. I'm just like invested in it. So I know a lot about it. I know a lot about the military defensive reasoning why Moscow is doing it and everything else. But at the end of the day, Russia's going about it from my past military perspective in a way that violates a lot of military laws and regulations. Like, you're not supposed to do a lot of the things they're doing. They're attacking civilian infrastructure and stuff like that. But to answer your question, no, we absolutely shouldn't blame Mundfish for this. And to kind of elaborate further on the funding aspect, Cyberpunk 2077 was funded by their government as well, because they were doing interesting innovations in AI technology. Just because a government funds a game developer doesn't mean it's for political or what's the word I'm looking for here? Propaganda reasons. It's usually because they're doing stuff related to tech. They're doing stuff related to software. And gaming industries right now are one of the more innovative industries in some of these spheres, some of these technology. So if they were funded by Russia at any point in time, I highly doubt Putin sat down with the game developers in his room with a giant table with them all the way across from him, like Mr. Burns, and he said, you gotta insert all these little Russian things. You gotta do it. You gotta make people support Russia. Like, that's absolutely not how it went. If they did get any funding, it was just to support their tech stuff, their software, and whatever they're doing in R&D. Now, this kind of rings true with the Harry Potter situation, right? Regardless of how you feel with J.K. Rowling or what side of the fence you're on with that whole thing, at the end of the day, J.K. Rowling has like maybe 1% to do with the game. She may get some kickbacks from it, but to take all the hard work of the developers and just shun it away completely and insult them and not give their hard work at least an attempt, at least to try, because of some barely attached negative situation, it's just ignorant, right? And I think that also stems to where people see these types of discussions happening online, and they want to join in on the side where they feel it's the right side to be on. They don't necessarily critically look into a situation or research the facts. They just see the social element. I can be on this loud side that's yelling and that claims to be under the banner of right. And that's how we get these situations, right? And the final thing I want to say is Bethesda has a studio in Moscow active right now. So there's probably a lot more big studios than you think working in Russia. Now, that's changing a lot. I'm a game developer on a big project. We had some developers from Russia that unfortunately we couldn't work with. And that's not because of political reasons. It's because just the sanctions, the communication blocks. It's really hard to do anything with Russia right now in terms of just anything. Like, this war is messing up many industries, including the gaming industry, and it's getting everyone riled up to such a degree that I find it ridiculous that the war is even still going on.
I agree.
From a military perspective, they're losing. Pull out, like, attack again if you have to. But right now, your front line is collapsing. There really isn't even a front line. I don't want to get into that. This will turn into a military tactic.
No. I mean, listen, I appreciate the insight. Like I said, this is the conversation that most podcasts are not going to have. And and if we're boring you, I apologize in advance. But I will say that this is a conversation that does surround gaming, and I do want to see Mundfish succeed. I want them to become the next. Whatever your favorite flavor is, because I want it to be done for the content that we're going to be playing in February, not from where they come or who funded them or how much money are they paying in taxes. I want to talk about gaming, but with that said, because it was brought to my attention by several people on the internet yesterday to say, Boom, are you going to cover this? Yes, I am going to cover it. And here we are talking about it. So, I appreciate the input so far, Retri and Skolzy. Infinite Umbra, let's get your hot take on this, man. This is, again, to suggest that you kind of force everyone of one race, creed, color, sexual orientation, or religion into a box is wrong. And it's and that kind of mentality is terrifying. To suggest that this development team should be shunned and their efforts for their game should not be looked upon as something that we should be looking for. And I hate to say this, folks, I'm going to say it because I know Retri's thinking it, and I know Skolzy's thinking it. There's another aspect to this that I didn't mention, and I'm sure that this has to do, and I hate to say it, to do with the fact that this is on Xbox Game Pass. I think that a lot of the finger pointing simply has to do with console warring, and it's gross and it's disgusting. Umber, please take it away.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how much of that is the case or not. I would not put it past a few of our hooved brothers to do such a thing, to be fair. But I will say this, and I said it a minute ago, it's kind of like, what exactly do people expect them to do? They are literally in between a rock and a hard place, and the rock might be the thing that ends their lives. Like, what the people that I saw a tweet of guys call them cowards. You're such and such a peace organization. No, you're cowards. You don't want to save Ukraine and all that. Yeah, I wouldn't say it either. Newsflash.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been politicians that's been poisoned and killed over there.
Mm-hmm.
And these are high-ranking people who are visual, they can see and they know and are in the news and internationally known. And they have killed them. There have been generals that have been killed under Putin for failing or whatever the case have been, falling out of the window by mistake mysteriously in the hospital. Like, let's not be stupid here, and on top of that, this is a game developed. This is a studio. It's not like, what exactly are we supposed to put on them? I'll go deeper than that. Are we now then supposed to, and it's the same thing with Hogwarts. I'm not going to punish that whole development studio and team because one person is a turf or whatever to whomever. That's her views. You all don't agree with her. You don't want to buy the game. I can accept that. But you cannot sit there and then try to retroactively point the finger and shame everybody else. That's what I've been seeing.
Yeah.
The same thing. Yeah, the shaming. And then the same thing applies here. These guys are not politicians. These guys are developers. And they're doing the best they can in a hostile environment. Let's just be real. Russia is not America. You can't get away with some of the stuff we get away with here over there. And if they voice their thoughts seriously, and I'm sure they want to say it, things can happen to their families. Things can happen to them, even if they're not there, things can definitely happen to their family. I wouldn't put it past Russia to probably send someone after them, literally. But not to get too, tinfoil headery, but the thing I'll also point out is then where do we take this logical conclusion of things? Are we then now, and this is what I always have an issue with when people are like, oh, boycott them, don't support them. Well, do you show that much scrutiny and everything else you do? Because if you're going to complain about that, mind you, millions of dollars from UK goes to Russia to buy their oil. So then shouldn't that stop? Because that's giving them much more funding than this game ever would. So in other things that people resource all the stuff that they use in that case? Like, oh, I can't support Nike because of the sweatshops in China. Nobody does that. Not really. Only the most tree huggiest of us do that. We all know it. Let's just be real. And it's no shade to those people respect to you. I just don't have the time, unfortunately, to be like, let me check the humanitarian record on this. Most of us just don't have the time to do that. You know what I mean? And it's not to say we don't care. It's just that we got other things in our lives that take precedence. And the whole thing is like I said, if you're going to check, you're going to have to resource every single thing you buy and consume, and you're going to be left with probably, I don't know, a graham cracker or two, and that's about it. And maybe a pair of drawers to scratch your ass. That's about it. Because it's most companies in this world are going to be tied to something negative that somebody could point a finger at you and say, well, why are you using them? Don't you know that they did this? And the banks. Well, don't you know that Mundfish got their money from VK.com, the bank that's now sanctioned? Okay, well, don't you know that Chase Bank helped fund slavery? Like, I can go on and on. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a silly thing to go to, because you will never hear the end of that. All of these companies are tied to something negative in one way or another that people do not want to highlight, that they use daily, that they use, and it's a matter of major importance. These cell phones we use all the time. I mean, do we really want to go into all the stuff that the pieces and things that go into them to make them that was sourced from people in child labor and such like that in Africa, for instance? Like, it's a specific piece of device, I forgot the name of it right now, that comes from mines over in Africa. Nobody's going to be stopping using their phone, though, are they? You know what I mean? So it's like, you're going to have to be like, I don't know, out in the wilderness somewhere, making your own like tree house or something like that to really point the finger at somebody. And if you're not doing that, maybe you should relax a little bit. That's all I would say.
I love it. I love the honesty. Daniel McGee, let's get your hot take opinion on this, brother. Where do you sit?
I don't know that it's much of a hot take, but I agree with pretty much everything that's been said. It's this thing where basically, I mean, we're all from America here on this panel, and since the 60s, maybe earlier, Russia has been sort of the villain, right? And God knows that they've done enough things to prove that to be true. You're never going to catch me coming out and defending the Russian government. They've done some absolutely horrible things, but I think this is a very strange way to try to strike back against that government, right? Because yes, the people who work at Mundfish do probably pay taxes to Russia if they are from a country that is part of Russia, right? That's just how it works. I mean, they can't not pay their taxes. That would probably not reflect well. That would for sure get them in prison, let alone talking out against an extremely strong government that has a history of silencing people who speak against it. But the other thing is, yes, Russia is, it's not a great place, right? They've done a lot of terrible things, but let's not pretend that they're the only country that's, committed atrocities, right? We talk about China and how their government, is actively basically hunting down the Muslim portion of their country, right? I think they're called the YIKES or something. I don't know how to pronounce it, right? And I don't see anybody boycotting MiHoYo or not playing Genshin Impact because of that, right? And if you go back in history, I mean, we're American. We're we're the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, America's done some terrible things too. Let's not pretend that we haven't, right?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, Antonio Newman just put in the chat, he goes, the U.S. has done a lot of messed up stuff. I call bullshit. And he's right.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Vietnam, we're the only country that's dropped a nuke. We deleted 2 Japanese cities off the face of the earth, right? We are not without blame. But I think that people need to understand, I think the majority of people already do, that we're not going to hold, I don't know, McDonald's accountable for the things that the United States president did, right? Even though, they pay their taxes to the American government or whatever, they don't make the same choices. They're not necessarily like thrilled about the things that the American government does, right? They just happen to be American. And I think that most people know to make that separation between the government that runs the country and the people who happen to live in it or work in it, right? It's just two completely separate conversations, right? You know, we're not going to start boycotting you know, products from England because of, you know, how they basically I forget if it was what was that, like the 20s or 30s, where they did they just completely screwed up everything in Africa, you know, or how they invaded, you know, India, or they, you know, they're the British Empire was committed some real terrible acts, right? And you know, now people don't really think about it as much because, you know, they're just kind of those guys who sit over on the island and complain about how great the sky is and drink tea, but they used to be a real problem, right?
So true.
And it's, I don't want to, you know, sit here and try and defend Russia. I would, you know, there's no point in doing that because the Russian government is terrible,
I see the path you're going down, Daniel. It makes sense to blame the one studio and their team is just ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Is the point,
I agree.
right? And it's they aren't necessarily going to be able to speak out specifically against the Russian government because, unlike in a lot of these places, you know, when America was committing war crimes in Vietnam and, you know, dropping the nukes, we were, you know, a very democratic country, and we were able to have a lot of people, you know, actively stand up against those things in the streets in America. And the same thing happens in the UK and in a lot of other places that have also done some pretty terrible things. In Russia, that's not the case. You know, journalists and people who stand against Putin and his regime, they don't generally seem to last very long. Either they disappear, or they are arrested, or they just miraculously wind up dead, right? And I'm not necessarily saying that if this video game developer was like, yes, we don't like Russia, that everybody who worked there would die, because I think that's probably an exaggeration, but there is that fear, right? That is something that could potentially happen. And I think that we need to take that into account and understand that these people are not, like, the people who are making this video game are not the same people who are destroying the Ukraine. They probably hate the fact that that's happening. I'm sure they would love it if Russia all of a sudden turned over a new leaf and the Putin regime got taken out and all of a sudden it was a nice place, but they don't have any control over that. So I think it's very strange to hold them accountable for the actions of their government.
Yeah. I mean, listen, great stuff by everyone. A real amazing way to open up the show. Josh, let's get your final opinion. Then we're going to move on, folks, to some fun stuff. Shaun Ashmore. I don't think you know who that guy is. He was responsible for being a big part of QuantumBreak, and he's out here making some news. We're going to get to that, and of course, we're going to talk about some Fallout 5 stuff, behind-the-scenes stuff, thanks to Scolzy. But Josh, let's close out this topic on a strong note. What is your opinion regarding several people in the community trying to go out of their way to point the finger at Mundfish and say bad?
I mean, I think like anything, people just need to stick to their convictions, right? If it's something that you feel that strongly about, and it's something that you feel the need to boycott, go for it. You know, whether you're going to get people to join your
crusade,
follow along, yeah. Like if that's really what your convictions are. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you can go down the path. Like I just opened up a quick, like what are the imports we get from Russia? And it's significant, right? It's iron, steel, fertilizer, wheat, like agricultural products, you know. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, even, you know, the best McDonald's I've ever eaten was in Russia. So I'm not joking. The burgers look like the burgers look like the picture. Like it was crazy how good they were. Like,
you mean they're not squished to an inch?
No, they were unbelievable. So, you know, I mean, stick to your convictions, right? I think it's easy to say, like, we can prove our points with different arguments to no end. But at the end of the day, if you feel that something is wrong for you, then don't do it. You may not get everybody else to follow along with your thoughts, your opinions, but stick to your guns if that's what's important to you. I do worry, like we've talked about, I do worry about the safety for these guys if they were to, truly speak up. Like I think it would be dangerous for them. I mean, walking the streets in Russia is dangerous. Pedestrians are targets. I literally watched somebody get run over by a car, like, because it's not like it is here. Like,
no,
they don't mess around. So I ate food in a restaurant that like a boxer was eating with members of the mafia, and my translator was like, don't make eye contact with anybody over there, like, so it's not like here. You don't, you have to step lightly or you will be deleted.
Good stuff. Listen, again, folks, 41 minutes in, this was an important topic to me. I hope that you found it important enough to hang out, and we're going to get into the fun stuff, but this is something that I'm proud that we took the time to discuss. 400 plus people that are here obviously agree, because you would have left the program at this point. But listen, I want to catch up to date with the 2 super chats that have come in early and often. Highlander 001 drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, "Good morning, Boom and panel. Not sure if you heard, the Chinese government now has a controlling interest in Tencent. How will that play with the FTC and the CMA and the EU when they acquire developers? I think it's going to play a huge part. And I think that Tencent was out of control, and I think that's probably why the government got involved. And I think that they cannot be allowed to go unchecked. This country is ridiculous when it comes to that. If you're a foreign investor investing in America, the doors are open, keys to the house, front door, go right and do what you want. If you're an American company trying to invest in America, you have the FTC suing you. So it is a very, very strange political game that goes on. I don't know what's going to happen, but I would imagine at some point someone's going to have to start looking and seeing what they're doing. But that said, Drawn TJ, generous friend of the program, just a $2 super chat and says, that war is sad. Indeed it is. But listen, I want to talk about some fun stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And look, I don't know what the hot take opinion is on QuantumBreak, but it is probably one of my favorite games that came out during the Xbox One era. It's a game that I have gotten 1,000 out of 1,000 achievement points, and that last boss on the hardest difficulty is a real mother effer. I will say that. If you know what I'm talking about, I died 1,000 times to get that last GD achievement, but I did it. And I have been saying for years that the game, if you put it on now, folks, just humor me. If you've never played it and all you've heard is 720p or 900p, it's not. Put the game on your Series X, it's in Game Pass, download it and play it. If you are a fan of those Sony over-the-shoulder, story-driven, photorealistic type of games, I'm telling you, folks, you're going to freaking love it, and you're going to reach out to me on Twitter and say, Boom, holy shit, dude, you were right. Well, why do I bring this up? I bring this up because of Jez Corden. I blame Jez. Jez, Mr. Mayo, I'm blaming you, brother. Okay? He put out a tweet, as Jez always does. And he simply says, bring back QuantumBreak. And of course, Shaun Ashmore had responded and quote tweeted Jez and simply wrote, I'm in at Xbox. And I wrote, and I won't say the curse because it's a big one, holy F, Shaun Ashmore, QuantumBreak 2, let's go. Now, folks, again, Is it a potential of happening? Well, I honestly don't know. I can tell you that for the last 2 days, QuantumBreak has been trending on Twitter. Now, there are a lot of naysayers that say the game sucks and it plays 900p and it wasn't that good of a game and Sony's better. I've heard it all, folks. But I want to talk about the possibility of a crowd-funded or a idea that could be brought to fruition. We know that it was made. What's the team that made it? Oh my god, what is the team that made QuantumBreak? Remedy Games. Say what you want. We've all heard some stories that maybe the relationship with Remedy isn't as great with Xbox, and maybe that was because of the old management. And now Phil's running the show, and maybe he has a good relationship. I don't know. I don't know. Remedy is one of my favorite developers. I'm very much looking forward to some of their stuff they have coming out. Control is getting a sequel. I loved Control. Obviously, Alan Wake is getting a sequel. Holy matrimony! Who would have thunk it?
Wake,
right?
baby.
And well, why not QuantumBreak? Now, they can't do it on their own. I believe, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, Microsoft owns the rights to the game. At least that's what I understand. If I'm wrong, I'll be more than happy to admit it. Retri, this is a game that came out and was marred with controversy because of 900p. But if you play the game, it looks absolutely amazing. And now with the Series X, it looks godlike. Do you, like Shaun, want to see this game return in a sequel?
Well, I know why Shaun wants it back. He wants to get paid again, obviously.
Of course he does.
Who wouldn't want to work, Shaun? Yeah, but I liked QuantumBreak. I didn't love QuantumBreak. I like QuantumBreak better than Control, though. Control just did not hit for me. I don't know what it was. It should have, but it didn't. I don't want to be that guy, but I guess I'm gonna be. I don't see this coming back. I think this one's pretty much dead in the water, but it'd be cool. I actually really enjoyed the whole, kind of almost like a TV series take that they did. I thought it was different. I really liked what they were doing in QuantumBreak, but yeah, I don't have much to say on it. I just don't think it's gonna happen. Sorry.
No, I mean, listen, that's fine. The whole point of having these conversations is to have different opinions. For me personally, I'm on the exact opposite, like the polar opposite.
Right.
It wasn't your thing, and that's cool. For me,
I liked it. I just didn't love it. I just didn't love it.
Dude, I loved every
I'd rather
minute of it.
see Scalebound, which probably also will not happen, and I'll get a ton of hate for.
Listen, we're talking about that tomorrow night on Primetime Gaming. As you can see, the advertising, I got a really nice thumbnail with the magic flowing around the name. Maybe that's what we need. We need magic to bring Scalebound back. But Skullsy TV, let's bring you into the conversation. But before that, I want to shout out On the Bright Side. Drops a very generous $10 super chat. And he says this is pretty interesting. Read up on Operation Paperclip. Our space program was built on Nazi technology. Werner von Braun was a mass murderer responsible for as many as 30,000 murders in his underground rocket factory in Germany. And yet, here we have the space program. So there you go, folks. There's plenty of blame to go around in the world. And again, not to reiterate everything, Mundfish is not the one you should be blaming. You should be supporting that small development team by buying their game and playing their game if you're going to play it in Game Pass. And I will be doing both. But listen, Skullsy, QuantumBreak 2. I mean, listen, it's Microsoft hasn't announced anything, but again, Shaun he's a pretty decent actor. He has some pull. He's out there, Jez Corden out there stoking the fires like Jez knows how to do. Do you want to see QuantumBreak, the series, actually come back in a big, maybe it's a different direction. Maybe they don't have the movie aspect. Maybe it's just like a regular, big budgeted, high polished game.
Yeah, so I got a couple points to make on this. I do want to see it come back, mostly because I enjoyed the game. I thought it was unique. I like when there's more unique, stylized content out there. It just switches things up a bit. You know, it's like a breath of fresh air. It wasn't my favorite game, but I did enjoy it. As far as if there's going to be another one, I think it's too early to tell right now. That conversation with Shaun might not have meant anything. It could have just been him responding to Jez and showing at least he has interest in it. But with it trending now, that might catch some people's attention and maybe they might consider it. If that is the case, it's going to be a while before we see it if they're just like now realizing people may want it. But I'd like to see it come back. I like for the people who actually really enjoy the game to get more content out of QuantumBreak. Yeah. But my last main point I want to make with the whole 720p 900p thing, I want to say this. I am a graphics aficionado. I was going to use a different word that's not family friendly, so I'll use aficionado. But you know, I play 4K. I've got my computer's like the size of a NASA thing because of all the GPUs. I love graphics, right? High on Life came out recently. Played it on Game Pass. Something happened to where I didn't realize I was playing in 720p for the first 2 hours. When I was playing, I was like, you know, I thought the graphics looked better when I was looking at the videos, but it still looks really good. And then I realized it was 720. And I was like, oh, how was I playing this for so long when I have to have 4K? So if I can find a way to enjoy a game in 720p, I'm pretty sure other people can too. So yeah, the graphics are important, but it's not what determines the game's success or, you know, fun value. It just makes it look better. You know, you could. So you're theoretically, if there's a game that played in 4K, but all you did was walk through a subway, but it looked 100% full 4K realistic photorealism, physics, and everything else. Right. You're saying that would be a better game than some of the other ones that are pixel games? That just doesn't make sense. Like, graphics are important, but they're not the determining factor. So I like QuantumBreak to come back. I think people should give it a try regardless of any of the drama with 900p and all that. And that's basically my take.
Yeah, no, I agree. And people are asking, is it in Game Pass? The answer is yes. Yes, it is. Yep. Look it up. You download it, give it a shot. Tell them Boom sent you. And I'm telling you, I think you're going to be impressed. And you're going to be like, yo, how did I know not? How did I miss out on this game because of negative press? It was at that time, everyone hated Xbox. I mean, I think even Xbox hated Xbox at that point.
At that time.
Yeah, so I mean, they were not in the same tier of, you know, of love from gamers that they are currently. I'm not sure they've made some mistakes even now, but back then, you know, the management was poorly run, and it just didn't do the numbers that it should have, and some development ideas might have been ahead of the curve of where it should have been. But I'm just saying that if you didn't play it, please, by all means, give it a shot. Umbra, let's get your opinion on this. This would be a game that many Xbox fans have been asking Microsoft or Phil Spencer and team to bring back and to invest in. That single-player, story-driven, adult-themed narrative that you see mostly on a PlayStation. So Sony's incredible success comes the way of God of War and Horizon and The Last of Us, which, by the way, if you missed out on the show, it was freaking phenomenal. I loved every minute of it. I cannot wait for next week. This should be I think this would be a good story. I think it would be a great story to see that this game, again, back in those days, and it wasn't that long ago, in the Xbox One, Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox lived and thrived off how many copies of a said game needed to be sold to be considered successful. We are in an age now. Now, Nintendo, sure, still doing it the old way. Sony kind of still doing it the old way, even though they have their own service. Microsoft has figured out a way for a streaming service to deliver content, new content, high-quality content to what we believe to be well over 30 million people at this point. And if they continue to drop bombs like Starfield is expected to drop on 3/23/23 and be this standout, stellar IP that we've all been asking for, those numbers are going to go up. QuantumBreak does not have to worry. QuantumBreak 2 if it was in development and they thought about bringing it back, would not have to worry about we have to sell X amount of copies to hit X amount of numbers so we can pay out X amount of people. Game Pass would sell this. And if the game is good and the first one was really good, if they could do double what they did in the first, which they could with technology, this could be a quote unquote, like the kids say, banger. Do you want to see QuantumBreak 2, bro?
You know, I'm always for like kind of like Scozy pointed out, I'm always for games getting a decent sequel if it's worthwhile. And the first game scored, if you all don't remember, I think like 77 on Meta for Xbox and like a 90 on Steam. So people love the game, and I have to often say this, but a 70, anything in the 70s is telling you that it's a good game. We've come so far, like 80s and all of that is like, if you don't get an 80 or 90, then the game is terrible. But 77 is actually telling you it's a really, really good game in most people's eyes. I know a lot of people are like, I don't need to look at reviews and Meta, but they do give you some type of review or at least some overview of what you can kind of expect, even if you don't want to follow it. But that said, absolutely. Yeah. The thing I'll say too, it was funny what Reggie pointed out. Yeah, like we know why he wants to do it. Yeah, of course, he's right. You know,
everybody wants to make money.
I love it, Sean. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, he can't be Iceman right now, so why not?
That's right.
Yeah, I get it, but no, I mean, yeah, I would absolutely love it. You know, I know you mentioned the TV aspect. I think if they cut that out and kind of just focus more on just gaming and really focus on giving us strong visuals, stronger, you know, controls and stuff like that, no pun intended, that it could excel better than Control and be better received. I'm all for that too, for another reason, because QuantumBreak to me, much like a lot of the Xbox One games, unfortunately failed, not so much because the game weren't quality or good, but because of the poor reception of the Xbox One. And so I would love for it to kind of get that resurgence and that, you know, that somewhat of a comeback story. That would be nice for that to see that happen. You know, also too, that's interesting, by the way, because you all mentioned Alan Wake. Did you all know that apparently that Control and such is part of that universe?
Yep, same universe. He was in it, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I thought he was in Control in the DLC.
Correct. It was actually really funny because at the end of the last Control DLC, Alan Wake basically shows up and looks to camera and he's like, "See you in Alan Wake 2." And then
points at the camera. See you guys later.
Yeah, and like a full year later, they had the reveal trailer where they announced Alan Wake 2, and it was basically the same thing. And everyone was like, "Oh my god, Alan Wake 2 is happening!" It was like, "Yeah, where have you been?"
Guess I didn't play the DLC.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. But yeah, I mean, you know, absolutely, man. I think it'll be really dope to actually bring that out and like I said, have a resurgence. And I think that for all of the Xbox One games, I know we couldn't get it for something like what's that, Sunset Overdrive. I know it's not a launch, but you know, I'm thinking of things like that, which absolutely deserve a sequel. And
same thing with Rise, Son of Rome.
Rise, like, yes, thank you,
dude. I play footage all the time, and people are like, "Wait a second, Boom. What's that game?" That is a game that launched with the Xbox One back in 2013. Yeah, that's the same game. Yeah, there you go.
Still looks good. Yeah.
So good.
It's been a while since I've played it, but I do absolutely love Rise, and I always argue for it. Yeah, and Rise is another game that kind of suffered due to that, and also, of course, being tied to the Kinect before they actually, you know, canceled that and moved it to controls. But yeah, man, I think I love the idea of these games getting a second chance too. I think it's just a really dope idea. And Microsoft, in my opinion, by the way, I saw somebody in chat saying that Remedy owns it. No, Microsoft owns this IP.
No, that's actually Abacab72, good friend of the program, has been here for many years. Actually confirmed that yes, Microsoft actually owns the IP. So there's that.
Yeah. Now Remedy, of course, owns Alan Wake and Control, but they don't.
Yes,
own Alan.
Yes, they do.
They did Max Payne too, I think, which is an interesting thing to bring up because the first Max Payne, I believe, did not review well.
No,
but it's a great game.
I loved it. One of my favorite games back in the days.
I love it. It was one of my favorites.
Introduced the bullet time, Matrix style. So, yeah, but yeah, I love the idea of that. Bring back these games like this and you know, reintroduce them properly. And that's another thing too, just to throw it out there really quick. That whole 900p fiasco, of course, and 7820 and all of that from the Xbox One thing harmed the games too. And IGN and a lot of these places were not kind to Xbox during that time. So it will be interesting to see it getting it on the, the most powerful console, as they say here, and the best of settings and the best of, all the bells and whistles and getting it out there. That would really be nice to see that. So I would hope that it happens.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, shout out to Scott Gamer Dude. He said, I have QuantumBreak installing as we speak. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, awesome. Shout out to Jesse DeBario, says Infinite Umbra. We need a mixtape, Xbox exclusive mixtape, maybe. I like it. I like what you're putting down there. I love it. N64 Josh, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Oh no, I'm sorry. Well, you know what? We'll go to Josh and we'll go to Daniel on this. Josh, look, obviously, QuantumBreak, it hit, but it didn't hit like it should have, right? It missed, and again. Even to this day, folks, there is a rhetoric that's listen, I'm going to say it. I don't give a shit. The reality is that there are a subset of gamers, podcasters, and community members in the fictitious journalistic community that just have a distaste for Xbox, and they find every little nook and cranny to dump on the brand. That is an absolute fact that has not gone away. I don't know if it ever will. I kind of look at Microsoft, well, specifically Xbox, as the little guy that could. This is a game that would generate a significant amount of interest because of a potential comeback story. What do you think about QuantumBreak 2?
I mean, I enjoyed the first game. I didn't play it to completion. I liked seeing Xbox take some risks, kind of add television to their game, right? I don't know that it's something I want to see all the time, but I feel like there were some redeeming qualities to that game that they could maybe lean into.
Yeah.
And then I think some of the characters were interesting. I think there were some good aspects to that game. So to see what they could, I don't know that there's. Remedy's pretty amazing, so anything that we get to see from them making its way to Xbox, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, it's a specific genre that Xbox needs more of. I have criticized them for it. We're going to see this come back the way of Fable, potentially Perfect Dark, even though Perfect Dark is expected to be first person. Hellblade is another one. Just name your flavor. I would love to see Rise, Son of Rome 2 come back. At this point, I don't even care if it's a multi-plat. I would like to see Microsoft go in there and snatch that game up. I would like to see Microsoft go back to some older IPs like a QuantumBreak 2 and take another risk. Again, folks, the whole point of the change of ideology for Microsoft was we have to sell X amount of copies to get X amount of profit to make it our shareholders happy. They don't have to do that now. They just have to get people engaged in playing the game and downloading it and talking about it to their friends, who would then say, oh, what's that? QuantumBreak 2? I didn't even know there was a first one. Yeah, go check it out over here. And they join Xbox Game Pass. That's just the succession of dominoes falling from Microsoft that we don't see Sony doing. We don't see Nintendo doing it. And Microsoft is paving the way for getting games into more gamers' hands, and I think QuantumBreak 2 would be successful. Daniel, you're shaking your head, brother. Do you agree with what most people had to say?
Yeah, absolutely. So QuantumBreak is, I think, this just real buried gem, right? I don't know why it didn't get the good press that it deserved. Remedy doesn't miss. They just don't, right? I think they're probably one of the most talented studios that is not currently owned by a major publisher. And honestly, it's to the point where I would expect that to change in some direction probably pretty soon, unless they are very adamant on not being acquired, because I'm confident that they're getting a lot of attention just because of how talented they are. And QuantumBreak, I think, is a really great example of that. Alan Wake is probably the one that made them popular. I think everyone really loved Alan Wake during the 360 generation, but QuantumBreak was such a massive step up over Alan Wake, in my opinion. Even though I love every game that Remedy has made, really. Because, you know, you walk through that game and you see sort of the way that they visualize the time dilation in that game, and it's amazing. It's genuinely phenomenal. There's a bit where like a train keeps crashing through a building and like all this stuff stuttering, and you hear, you know, the people's conversations coming in and out. It's really cool the way that they play with it, and I would love to see more of it. The cast of that game, phenomenal. You had Courtney Hope, who went on to be the main character of Control. You had Aidan Gillen, who's of course Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. You had the voice of God, Lance Reddick. You had Dominic Monaghan, the Hobbit, and my second favorite, Ashmore. I'm just kidding. I can't tell them apart. I can't. I
love it. Not the second favorite.
I know they were. I know they were both in Smallville, but I don't know which one was which. I think, you know, if I had to guess, I would say that QuantumBreak fell victim to people being all up in their feelings about that TV conference, even though I think that they completely misunderstood the point of that conference and what they were trying to say. If you go back on my channel, I think the very first video I ever did when I was a wee lad in my bedroom at my parents' house, you can see I break down that conference, and one of the things that I really focus in on is that bit where they're talking, you know, TV is they're using it as an example. They never are like, this is a box for TV. They use it. They talk about it in the way where it's like, it's just another aspect of it. They talk about it in like, oh, when you're using voice commands to switch between the different apps, one of the apps you can switch to is TV. Or like, hey, when you snap things, use the snap feature, which I wish they would bring back. One of the things you can snap is you can have TV up and you can snap your fantasy stats on the right or whatever, right?
That was awesome.
And they were never like really pushing, hey, this is the box for TV. And the thing that always really makes me laugh is people are like, but they barely showed any games. They showed almost the exact same number of games in that conference that PlayStation showed in their respective conference, and PlayStation's conference was an hour longer. So I don't want to hear it. It's just
tell them, Daniel.
People seem to forget it. Yeah,
failing to put together the facts and realizing it. They catch on to this, you know, TV buzz for it, like catchword, and they're like, that's the truth. That's the only thing it could be. This is clearly the way it must be. And now where are you? If you were one of those people, where are you now? Are you not watching the Last of Us show? Because that show's phenomenal. Are you not looking forward to the Gears of War show or movie or whatever it is? You're not looking forward to the God of War show or the other 30 shows that have been announced in the last 6 weeks?
Bioshock, Fallout.
Where are we at?
So much.
I watched the Last of Us show and I loved it. I played it with a PS5 controller in my hand, and it felt exactly the same as playing the game. It was. I understand that maybe the biggest, you know, PlayStation fans around probably didn't watch it yet because, you know, it's on a subscription service and you're probably waiting for the Blu-ray to come out so you can pay for it.
Yeah, I love the spice. This is spicy Daniel McGee that we need in our lives.
This is the best version of Daniel. He's my favorite.
Spicy McGee.
Evil McGee. I love it. It's great.
Where are you now? Everyone wants to hold it against Xbox, this TV conference, and here we are a handful of years later, and it's like, oh boy, I wonder what's going to win Best Adaptation at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
I wonder who started that trend going.
I love it.
What's one of the biggest children's movies going right now? Is it the Sonic franchise? Couldn't be. Was that a video game? Nah, couldn't have happened. Anyway, it's just something that's been really irritating me lately, where people are like, oh yeah, now there's all these new adaptations going. I was like, yeah, remember when TV was a bad thing? Remember all that?
How times have changed. How the turns have tabled.
How the turns exactly.
How the turns have tabled.
I love it.
I would love to get another QuantumBreak game. I think the first one was absolutely phenomenal. I know one of the things that people really hold against it is the gameplay of it. And I think that's really ludicrous because I think the gameplay is phenomenal. I think
the gameplay is real.
The way
fantastic.
The way you like
dude.
throw up the time bubbles and shoot into it, and like all your different powers, I think, are just so fun to play with. And people want to, you know, one of the other things that keeps being brought up against it is that it, you know, it ran at, what was it, 900p? I think
it was 900p or whatever the hell it was. Yeah.
And people want to hold that against it. And you know what? That's fair. But I think we also need to keep in mind that we're going into 2023. Tears of the Kingdom Legend of Zelda is going to come out. It's going to run at 720 at 15 frames a second, and it's going to be game of the year.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
Yeah,
people are like, oh, if Starfield doesn't run at 60, I'm not going to play it. No, you're going to play it.
Yeah, you will.
Don't lie to me.
Yeah,
you might go and play it on your PC if you got a good rig, but you're going to play it.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Listen,
give me QuantumBreak too.
That. We had a good discussion the other day. We had a space, me and Riskit, and a few people came through, Fonz and a few other people. And I said the same, like, if it doesn't hit 60, I would wish that they could get a performance mode, but I'm definitely going to play that game at 30. There's nothing stopping me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Listen, again, great way to close out topic number 2. Folks, we're going to bring to you the big topic of the show. Listen, Fallout 5. What do we know about it? When is it coming? Is it going to be 2036 is when we're expecting it to come? I don't know. But we do have someone here that has a significant amount of information regarding it. Look, Fallout 4, I enjoyed it. I played through it. I beat it. But Fallout 4 for me didn't hit like Fallout 3, right? Like Fallout 3 is, for me as a gamer, is the pinnacle Fallout. Now, I never played Fallout 1 and 2 on the PC because I'm not a PC dude. That's just never been my thing. So for my first Fallout experience, it was 3. And I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours invested into that game. I played, I didn't put as many hours, a few hundred into Fallout 4. I did beat it. But Vegas is my favorite of all time. And that wasn't made by Bethesda. That was made by Obsidian. Sculzy, look, you know, Bethesda finds themselves in a pickle. They find themselves in a pickle because they are Microsoft first party. Todd Howard has a lot of things that he's doing. Besides Starfield being the biggest IP in 2 decades for them, releasing what we're expecting to be in a couple of months. He's also highly invested in Indiana Jones with Machine Games. He's also highly invested in the pre-production of The Elder Scrolls 6. So when you say that, and you take a step back and you say, Jesus, man, that's one dude that's overseeing this incredible amount of IP. Can Fallout be put on top of his back? I mean, we're going to kill this guy. So, you know, Fallout 76, obviously, I bought it. And I simply bought it for the helmet that's right over there. I bought it for the power armor helmet. The game was awful. I haven't been back. I played maybe 5 hours since it's come out. Now, to Bethesda's credit, that game has turned around and has millions and millions and millions of players that go back to that game. As a matter of fact, hell, that game just jumped onto the PlayStation service. PlayStation, their service just a couple of weeks ago, and now PlayStation gamers who have, you know, their different tiers are playing that game if they weren't already. I think there's something to be said that the world is ready for a single player driven Fallout, and to suggest that in front of its path, in front of its release path, you have Starfield, which still isn't out. You have Indiana Jones by Machine Games, but being overlooked by Todd Howard. It's one of his favorite franchises, if you didn't know. He actually has movie props. You ever seen him on the shelf? He has like a Phil Spencer shelf, all Indiana Jones stuff. He's a huge fan. And of course, the Elder Scrolls 6, which Elder Scrolls Online, which we're going to get some new information on, not my bag. I know you can play it as a single player, but I want a traditional one. My question to you, Sculzy, is how dire is the Fallout 5 situation for fans like myself who want a traditional, single-player, story-driven, type of game with NPCs that join your party and you can switch off at the fly. How many years are we from that?
That's a sad question because we're
Sad
multiple
answer.
years. We're multiple years. I would say if I had a ballpark it, probably 2028-ish. Yeah, we're a long way away, and it's a dire situation for Fallout single player fans, right? And it all began. Hang on, my cat is clawing my chair. No, it all began kind of as with a slap in the face to the community, and you know, I love Bethesda. I try to be neutral as much as I can if I love a company, but Bethesda did slap their audience in the face. And the only reason I say this is because they did a big campaign. I think it was 2018. I don't remember when it was. This is ancient times, it feels like now. But they did the Save Player One campaign, which is all about how a lot of games are forcing multiplayer into them and single player games are getting rare. So they did the hashtag Save Player One campaign. They uploaded a trailer about how they're going to focus on single player games and they're not going to abandon single player games. And then what did they do? They announced a multiplayer game. So like it was just kind of a weird situation, even when Fallout 76 was released. I played Fallout 76. It was kind of not that good when it first came out. It's a lot better now, but it's a game I can't play by myself. If I play it with my wife or some friends, I have fun. It's fun to play with friends. But as a single player game, as a game you play solo, it's just not even near the same. So Fallout 5 definitely needs to happen if Bethesda wants to hang on to the pretty substantial Fallout fan base they have, even though it's fairly divided between those who think Interplay did it better and all, et cetera, et cetera. There's always some type of conversation about that kind of thing. But we do know Fallout 5 at least is their next plan after TES 6. They've confirmed that. It's going to be Starfield, it'll be TES 6, and it'll be Fallout 5. But Starfield will probably have DLC and expansions. TES 6 will probably have DLC and expansions. And the one thing is Microsoft is partnered with Bethesda now. So they theoretically have access to a lot more staff to assets for testing, for whatever they need. Microsoft can give it to them, money, program, whatever. But will Bethesda utilize that to make their games faster? It doesn't seem like that's ever been their priority. It seems like if they had access to more assets, more capabilities, they would use that to make their games better, but still take the same amount of time to make them. And that's kind of what I'm picking up on here now. I almost don't think we would have seen a delay for Starfield if Bethesda wasn't partnered with Microsoft. I feel like they felt more secure with delaying the game so they can get rid of those old style Bethesda bugs. So the one possible positive we'll get with having to wait 5-10 more years for Fallout 5 is it'll probably release with a lot more content. It'll be a lot less buggy. You won't get in your power armor and fall through the floor or anything like that. And it'll probably be awesome. And I will say this, it is confirmed. I do know this 100% as a fact that Bethesda has at least a couple pages in the design doc for Fallout 5 right now. Originally, they wanted Fallout 4 to go in New York, but they changed it up. So we might see a Fallout 5 in a heavy urban environment for the first time, potentially in a New York setting or even Chicago.
Oh, that would be dope.
And there's evidence to support in Fallout 4 that New York might be where they're going next, because New York gets brought up multiple times when you're messing around with the Brotherhood of Steel. So
yep, sure does.
Yeah, it sucks. We got to wait a while, but it's going to happen. I feel like after Starfield is out, we're kind of going to settle back into that Bethesda pattern we know and maybe don't love, where, you know, it used to be Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Elder Scrolls. Only now we're going to have Starfield, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, So it's the time period between these games is probably going to be bigger. But this is just my own speculation. We're still in a new anomaly of Bethesda. This is a new Bethesda because, like I said, they have more access to assets and funding and whatever else they need than they've ever had before. So this is definitely going to be, this is the very, very early foundations of the future new Bethesda. So we just kind of got to wait and see how it goes. It sucks that we got to wait, but it's going to come.
Pass a question.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Do you think it's possible that after Outer Worlds 2, Obsidian takes the reins and that cuts down the time a little bit? About.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. I was going to ask.
I mean, that's what great. I want to happen. Do you think that's a possibility of them taking the reins?
It can go. Oh, so I got three things I can say about this. Obsidian has shown interest in revisiting
publicly
Fallout
too.
because
Yeah,
that's one of their babies, right? A lot of them worked at Interplay originally and created a bunch of great games. Fallout, Hardware, Interplay was awesome. Obsidian is awesome. But the second thing I want to say, as a game developer, I work with Once Lost Games. We're making a big, massive game, whatever. I'm not going to plug that, but I do have some.
Definitely, we got to plug that.
But I do have some knowledge with how that stuff works. I don't know if Obsidian would want to, from a business perspective, because they are their own studio funded by Microsoft, partnered with Microsoft. They probably want to make their own IPs that they.
That's what I was wondering too. Stand out on their own.
Yeah, their own stuff, their own universes, their own IPs. It seems like the Outer Worlds. I always want to say the Outer Wilds. I don't know why those two games.
I do that too. All the time.
The Outer Worlds might kind of be their Fallout now. It might be it. I don't know if we're going to see another. And then the third thing I want to bring up is, I think it's Brian McCaffrey from IGN. He interviewed Todd Howard. He asked the question in a really dumb way. All respect to Ryan, but the way he asked the question was dumb. He said, would you ever be comfortable with handing the reins of Fallout off to another studio like Obsidian? And Todd Howard reacted in a kind of taken aback way where he was like, no. We don't want to do that. I don't know his exact words, but he seemed taken aback a little bit. So we can use that as evidence that perhaps Bethesda isn't interested in that. But my devil's advocate to my own theory there is I believe if Ryan may have asked the question in a different way, we may have gotten a more positive response. If he would have said, would you ever feel comfortable with letting Obsidian do another one-off like New Vegas, instead of asking, would you feel comfortable handing the reins off? That
I agree.
That was a bad way to phrase it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to pin down if we're going to get another Fallout from Obsidian, but from a business perspective, I would have to say no, unfortunately. They might do it just as a one-off if we're lucky.
Okay. All right. That's.
Can I ask one question too? To
sure.
Scozy?
Absolutely, dude.
This is the Scozy hour.
We got them. Let's use them.
So, Scozy, I was having a discussion with Risk and Jedi Knight Peter one time, and actually the other day as well. And we were talking about the engines. And a few people joined our space and were like, I wish they would have changed out, blah, blah, blah. My thought was that I wish that maybe the creation engine, I think, the second iteration, whatever, is causing more issues than it's solving, and maybe moving to a more productive engine could be produce a quick results for them. Would you think, like, if you had the choice, what would you have them move to, or would you have them just iterate on creation engine?
Well, that's a twofold answer. If I had any question like that about any company and what engine they'd move to, my answer would always be Unreal 5. Unreal 5 is just a great engine, really modular, lots of pretty high-tech stuff. If any engine is actually pushing forward gaming technology, it's Unreal 5 right now. My company's using Unreal 5, or not my company, but the company I work for. So it's a great engine. But that being said, I kind of think they need to stick to Creation Engine 2, only because it's better for a big company like Bethesda to have their own in-house engine, because that having your own in-house engine as a foundation to build upon later is just the way to go. It seems like Creation Engine 2 was a bit of a hurdle for them. They had to add in a lot of new gameplay mechanics like spaceflight, probably other vehicle mechanics, and no other Bethesda game could really get vehicles to work right. I mean, in Fallout, when you rode the train, they just put a train over the character's head as a hat. So it looked like you were in a train. Like, they have trouble with vehicles. so they probably had a lot of trouble with various engine things. And this is the first major engine overhaul they've basically ever done. Their engines are modular. So with the first Creation Engine, they would just upgrade their different modulars, or whether it would be software like Radiant AI, or whether it would be their in-house physics changes to their systems, because originally they went with I believe the Havoc engine back as early as Oblivion, but after that they did their own in-house physics. So they work on their engines over time, sequel to sequel, they add to it. And I think if they could do that with Creation Engine 2, that would be even better. And my final point with that is they kind of need to stick to Creation Engine 2, because one of the big factors that keep their games alive, have longer lifespan, is their modding community. If they change it up to Unreal 5, that would probably not kill it completely, but it would derail it a bit. So with what they got with Creation Engine 2, with their B2A archive systems and everything else, there's a lot of tools for modders to use specifically for the Creation Engine out there that if they didn't exist, we wouldn't have all the great mods we have now,
Mm.
including the mod lists. You can download the mod list with 900 mods for Skyrim or Fallout 4 with Wabbajack and just click and walk away from it. And you don't have to download patches. You don't have to build bash patch. You don't have to do anything. So it's almost plug and play in a massive way now. So if they switch to another engine, I fear that would probably be an issue. But no, they definitely had some problems with CE2. I have faith that they'll overcome these problems. We might still get some of those Bethesda bugs in Starfield because of them utilizing CE2 for the first time and building it during its development. But no, I think they should stick to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Good
you.
stuff. Danny McGee, you have any questions specifically for Skullsy TV regarding Fallout?
I mean, I could think of 100. One thing that I want to say is I 100% agree with you about the engine thing. I mean, when I was in school, we used the Unreal Engine, and it's phenomenal. I mean, it's a really, we were using 4. I can only imagine 5 is a step up in terms of usability. Obviously, it's a step up in terms of just what it can do. But you know, we were on teams of 1, just complete novices, and you would be amazed the things that some of the people in that class were able to whip out in just a couple of months. It was genuinely amazing. That the Unreal Engine is very good for just being able to get an idea out. You know what I mean? But I agree completely. I think that the creation engine is what gives Bethesda RPGs their identity, right? You know, there's a lot of great engines out there, but none of them are able to give a game world the level of interactability that the creation engine is able to give it. The fact that in a Bethesda RPG you can walk into a store and put a basket on a guy's head and like knock all his stuff over, like you can't do that in another game because none of those things would be a real physics object, because most engines don't allow you to do that because it makes the game not run good. And the creation engine is okay with taking those risks. They're like, yes, if we do this, there are going to be instances in which there are more bugs and in which it doesn't run as well as maybe some other games probably would. But it gives players such a higher level of freedom and creativity and control over their own game world that I think it's worth it. Like, I know that there's definitely going to be people who play Starfield or even Fallout 5 probably, and will still point out, hey, this is almost certainly still going to have a larger number of bugs than the majority of games, right? And it's fine. Like, I would prefer if it didn't, but if that's a necessary drawback to getting a game that has the level of freedom that a Bethesda RPG has, I'm 100% here for it. My only question to Skullsy would be, where do you want the next Fallout, like your dream Fallout game? What would be the location of it? Because we've seen a lot of theories around this, and you were saying that New York seemed to be, you know, a plausible answer. But what would be your like dream one?
You know, that's an awesome question. So my dream one would be in the tropical archipelago. I think that would just be awesome, going from island to island.
And that's a great choice, dude.
I love islands.
Wow, so different. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm biased because I love islands and games. They just work perfectly. You see something out there, it's your next adventure. You wonder what's there. You go to it's just great. But also, we haven't seen an environment like that in Fallout, and you know, I'd like to see it in maybe the Cuban area. But if they did in Hawaii, it would be very interesting because there's a lot of theories in Fallout that Hawaii didn't get hit with a nuke. So we could actually see some stable societies for once who aren't necessarily fully post-apocalyptic, dealing with the new post-apocalyptic frontline and territories where they have to try to maintain their stability and also decide, you know, what their ideology is with the wasteland. Do they want to help people? Do they want to remain isolationist so that they can hang on to the civilized stuff they have? It would be a really interesting backdrop, not just for the environments, but also for the political elements or whatever you want to consider that in the game. Of course, the only possible issue with that is how big can the game be if it's, you know, in Cuba or something, because that's not a huge area of landmass, so they'd have to find a good way to make it to where it's not just Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which I did love. I like the game, but I don't think Bethesda could get away with having half of a Fallout game be pirate or water themed. You know, they'd have to have something there they can figure out. But yeah, my answer would be tropical islands. I think that would just be amazing. Maybe a jungle mainland you can go to. It'd just be cool.
Pete in the chat agrees with you, and I do as well. Color palette is something that we have yet to see in Fallout. It's very gray and black and brown, and occasionally you get a little green in there, but it's the world has been nuked. So what does it look like? It looks crummy.
That's why I
was going to say Japan, but Skullsy answer was way better than mine. When he said islands, I was like, yes, it would be so different.
I actually have a question for Skullsy, but I want to grab N64 Josh. You have any questions regarding Fallout 5 for Skullsy as we potentially close out this topic and move on to something else?
Every time I see Fallout is on the list, I'm like, oh god, like please don't call on me. It's not a serious, like I've probably played 5 minutes of Fallout 3, and that's the extent of my time with the series, unfortunately. So but the little bit I do know, like just kind of leaning into the island aspect of it, it seems like if there were islands, that would mean there'd be some large bodies of water and potentially some like barges or large ships that some gameplay could take place on as well. And that might be it might give the opportunity for just some quite a few different environments, which I think would be cool. I will ask this question: which game should I start with if I was going to jump into the series?
I would say Fallout 3. That's my favorite one. I played the first 2 Fallouts, but they're very different, isometric. So in terms of Bethesda Fallout, I'd say Fallout 3. Fallout 4 isn't bad, but it's more forced in terms of the story. Fallout 3 felt more open. Fallout 4 was find your son. voice character. It's hard to immerse yourself in it, but not everyone plays those games for immersion purposes. Some play them for just the shooting. So, but I would say Fallout 3. That's my favorite one. It is a little dated. If you can't get into the dated aspect of it, give Fallout 4 a chance because it is fun, and especially coming from someone who hasn't played previous Fallout games. You may not be as biased with some of the critique Fallout 4 had with its voice protagonist and its main story not feeling as open. So if you want more modern Fallout 4, but if you just want to experience Fallout for what I think it is and its best, Fallout 3.
Cool. I appreciate it.
Not bad.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I don't want to move on too quick. Do you think it's possible, Skullsy, Microsoft could just hire on more bodies and make and expand the studio out?
You see, that was
you know
my
what I'm
question.
saying? Because
I like
we know
down.
They did that with Undead Labs. Undead Labs went from 55 people in State of Decay 2 to 130, increased the studio by 81%.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, can we hire just more bodies, to get into it and expand out the studio and kind of do what they did with Call of Duty? So I don't want it. I'm not saying annual. I don't want the 3 big games to come out every year, but maybe we can take a 6 to a 10-year gap and make it 3 years. You know what I mean?
Or 4 years.
Everyone's in rotation.
Yeah.
3 or 4. I would take that. Would be better than waiting 6 to 10 years.
That
do you think that's a possibility?
That was my question, Retro. You stole it right out of my
brain.
Good for
sorry,
you.
Boom.
No, that's okay. My question was going to be: is there a world where they're in parallel development cycles for both Fallout 5 and Elder Scrolls 6? I mean, it's Microsoft, right? I mean, they're not limitless. They have investments. They have investors. We understand all of that. Let's not pretend that this is not going to cost millions upon millions of dollars. But to Retri's point, it kind of makes sense to dual develop these games and just hire on people. Hey, just put it out there to the ether. Who wants to work on the next Fallout? Who wants to work on the next, whatever? And they could get people from other studios within, right? Do an internal memo. Maybe people from Obsidian want to, you know what? I do want to work on the next Fallout. I'm going to go over there, and then kind of intermingle people from the near 23 studios, and potentially when ABK is done, add another 11. I mean, that's massive talent.
I think, Boom, speaking of which, the only way for them really to get around trying to get Fallout and Elder Scrolls out with, before we're all like dead or something like that, would
before the nuke actually hits.
Yeah, before a real nuke hits us, would be the case of having to, give it to another team. Otherwise, I don't see how we would get Fallout 5. I mean, think about it. 2028 is probably the earliest for for Elder Scrolls. That's coming first, right? If I'm not mistaken. So Fallout 5,
yes.
Yeah, that would probably be like what, 2032 through 2034?
That's what we potentially.
That would be the best case scenario for them to do that, is to have another studio that focuses on Fallout within Bethesda. But ultimately that's Bethesda's call, if they want to do that. But I will say this: since Microsoft and Bethesda have partnered, Bethesda has expanded massively. They've hired I've lost track of the amount of people, but almost everyone in their studios, even Alpha Dog Games, the mobile studio that we never hear about, has like doubled. They're like at 100 people now instead of like 40 or whatever it is. So they have been expanding massively. So there is potential for something like that to happen. And in the best case scenario, I would say Bethesda creates a Fallout strike team, Elder Scrolls strike team, but they also bring on some people from Obsidian to help on the Fallout strike team, because Bethesda is one of their big things is between Bethesda Softworks and all the various studios, BGS, Machine Games, they work together. They pass builds together, the Q&A, to test each other's games, and they'll pick talent. They'll pick programmers from one studio and have them help on a different project for another studio. So they're already kind of in that ballpark. All they got to do is just take another step forward and have it be a whole separate studio that does this project, rather than multiple studios working on multiple shared projects.
Right. I guess that's what I'm saying, is to have a specialized team just for that. And we know like Obsidian is an Unreal too. So you got Unreal versus Creation Engine 2. So I don't know if that would, if they would go back and forth and take guys from Obsidian anyways, if they're working on Outer Worlds 2 and an Unreal 5. But I'm just trying to make it happen quicker somehow in my head.
That's the only way I think that they could do it faster, because I don't think they're gonna just rush their games quicker because they have these new assets. The only way they do it is if they had definite studios that still took the same amount of time to make a game, but they released every 2 years. So we get Starfield DLC expansions, and then 2 years after that we get Fallout 5, because they have separate studios. That they should do that, in my opinion. There's theories that they're doing that, but there's no real solid evidence. But they have been expanding, and they still are. So for them to still be expanding to such a massive degree, they're planning something. Either their games are going to be to such a huge increase of content that we're going to be blown away, or we're going to get them quicker. I think it's hopefully will be a mix of both. It's just still kind of early with the alliance right now between the official alliance between Microsoft and Bethesda. But no, I agree they should do that, but it's kind of too early to tell one way or another if they're headed that direction. Theoretically, they could be, but we'll just have to pay attention to what's going on behind the scenes.
No, I love it. I
love
watch
the roundtable Skullsy's channel, because then you'll be the first to know.
True.
100%.
I would be surprised though.
That channel for sure. A couple super chats, but we have some Starfield talk to get into, and of course we're gonna. It is a raging controversy that has started once again on social media. Shout out to Colt Eastwood, a good friend of mine. I got a chance to meet him and his incredible wife at E3 2019. What a great dude! Like, he is as stand up as he is. You see him on camera. He's a good dude. Gonna meet him again at E3 2023, which I'm going with a lot of people from many of the podcasts that I'm on. Hopefully I can run into him and several others there. But he did something that Skullsy that set the internet ablaze. And he put a picture of Starfield, and on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, he inserted a picture of the lead singer from Earth, Wind, and Fire singing September, which suggested that somehow or another this game is getting delayed until the fall of this year. Now, I of course, I didn't even comment on it. He has a lot of inside track information, and I trust Colt Eastwood. He does incredible videos. There's a reason why he's almost at 150,000 subscribers. I mean, there's a reason for it. In Colt, we trust. But this, I have to disagree with. Now, this morning on Reddit, and if you missed it yesterday, the new box art for the Xbox Series X has Starfield on it. So it appears based on some information that was put out yesterday, that the wheel is starting to turn. We're getting some information, Scalzi, that there is a scheduled Starfield gameplay trailer at the Super Bowl. That is something that we're hearing from numerous sources. But something else came to my attention this morning via Reddit that they had circled, that the box that was making the rounds yesterday was printed on January 4th of 2023, which suggests that this went into production before the new year, gearing up for what is expected to be the 3/23/23. Again, it's a date that I have said. It's a date as Umbra has said. It is one of those dates that when you look on the calendar, smile if you are a fan of Todd Howard, because he loves these specific dates. And more importantly, if the evidence didn't point to it, NASA has launched numerous space probes and operations on that specific date, which makes sense for Starfield to release on that date because, well, Todd Howard likes dates. Let's try and break this down, Scalzi. Is Starfield going to be delayed again, and to September, no less?
I'll do respect to Colt. He has some awesome sources. He's a great guy. I've been on the show, I think, a couple times. But this one, I kind of question. The main reason is September just doesn't make sense. If the game was delayed, I think November would be when it would release. I don't think they'd release it in September. November would just make more sense for Todd Howard's love of numbers and also just, I guess, sales and stuff. But in terms of it being delayed, I think maybe you asked me 2 months ago, I might say the chances are pretty solid. But now it feels like things are starting to ramp up. If they're printing an Xbox Starfield box, they wouldn't do that unless something was coming around the corner soon. It wouldn't make sense for them to do something like that if they weren't confident, at least a little bit, that Starfield would release during their release window. And at the same time, I don't know why. If the game was going to be delayed, I don't think that anyone that could leak something to an insider like Colt would know the month that it would be delayed to. I don't think they would be able to tell them it's going to be delayed until September 11th. I don't think that they would inherently know. I think that the delay would just be another 6 months, and we would probably have to wait 3 months of that delay to hear the new release date. So yeah, there's a few red flags, at least with this. Now, I'm not saying Colt is wrong. He could have just been given information from somebody who they thought was correct.
I get it wrong all the time, and I'm the first one to admit it. I mean, it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely happens for numerous reasons, whether it's grapevine stuff or just misinformation, which does sometimes get passed down to insiders, sometimes not even on purpose. But no, if the game was going to get delayed, I don't think we'd be seeing Starfield art. I don't think we'd be box art. I don't think it'd be delayed until September, and I don't think we'd even know the month of the actual new delay's release. So yeah, I don't think the game's going to get delayed. I have the feeling that here very soon, probably within the next 30 days, we're going to get a Starfield showcase, a Starfield major focused showcase where they go into a lot more detail than we've seen before about the game, and they drop the release date. I still think it would be March, but
I got to ask you though, is that enough time for marketing?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It doesn't seem like it, right? That's my main. If there was any potential thing that made me think the game wasn't coming out in March, it would be because it's not enough time, right? They would have already had to in December, even November, start ramping it up even more than their one little dev Q&A every month or two, right? So that means the game may not come out in March. It doesn't mean it may not come out during the first 6 months of 2023. It could come out in June. But then when I say that out loud, it doesn't make sense either, because generally in game development, the summer is known as the dead zone for sales. Like, you don't get that many sales in games in June. And I say sales doesn't mean sales anymore. It means downloads from Game Pass, whatever it is. People just don't play that many games in June. They don't play that many games in the summer. Maybe when the how do I say this? The virus was going around, maybe when everyone was inside. But it's different now, so there's a lot of strange anomalies, I would say, with when Starfield could potentially come out, which makes this an interesting topic. If I had to put my chips on the table, I'd still say March, just because Oblivion came out in March. It makes more sense for a game to come out in March rather than June or even May. And September doesn't make any sense at all.
What about April? What about April, Scozy?
April could work.
April could work. It's wide open.
Yeah, April could work, especially because I don't think there's really much stuff coming out in April, right? So they could probably.
I think so.
That would also work. I don't. Some people like to bring Redfall in the conversation. I don't think Redfall's release date's really gonna be interchangeable with Starfield. They may not want to release them the same day, but they're two different studios, two different game types. They could come out the same month for sure. So yeah, it's.
Well, let me ask you a question like this. Since you just said that about Redfall, do you think it is okay for Starfield and Diablo 4 to come out at the same time? If it was going to be June for Starfield, do you think they can cannibalize each other?
I think they'd be willing to release them the same time, but I don't think it would be a best case scenario. They're obviously two different kind of, one's a space game and one's a fantasy.
Yeah, I mean they're very different.
Thing. So they're different. But Diablo is one of those franchises that have stood the test of time forever and has a huge following. I love Diablo. I'm hyped for Diablo 4. I don't think they'd like it, but I think they'd be willing to do it if they had to. Is my answer to that.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards too. Here's one little theory I'm just going to throw out there real quick.
Yeah, sure.
If Redfall's date is really, if the show's in January and we find out the date and 4 months later, the date is now May 2nd or 3rd, I think it was. I can't remember. And it's a 4 month period. If we get the Starfield in February, 4 months later is June. That's what makes, I like to do like timing when it comes to marketing and stuff. So I'm wondering if it actually is June, like ACG said, he had 100% confirmation it was June. Like I said last podcast, I think I might be changing my mind. I think I'm going to go with June on Starfield personally. I don't want it in June at all. I'd rather have April. I'd rather have May. I'd rather have any month that isn't Redfall or Diablo 4, specifically Diablo 4, personally. But
Microsoft are going to do what they're going to do. A leaked release date of May 7th, right? So
right.
So
it was May 7th or the 2nd? Which one was it?
I thought it was the 2nd.
Oh, yeah, okay. So it is the 2nd. Okay, my mistake. Yeah. So early May for that. We've heard numerous dates around Motorsport being June. I don't think they would do Motorsport and Starfield, Lord. And on top of that have Diablo 4 around the corner. I think that'd be disastrous.
April and May is looking real good for some of these.
I'm hoping that the 3/23/23, which I actually think, and again, everyone has known about Starfield at some point. Now, maybe they're not as invested as we are. Right, because we're all content creators, and we talk about it, and most of us are huge fans of Todd Howard. I think that in a world in social media, the way it is, there is a place where we get the Super Bowl, which I believe is the 1st, right? That's February 1st, if I'm not mistaken, February 1st or 2nd, right? You get your trailer, you get your gameplay trailer, and gets observed by hundreds of millions of people, right? And then 3 days later, you have your dedicated developer direct for Starfield. It's still fresh into people's minds, the gamers' minds, the normies' minds, that are going to look at this game and say, holy shit, that looks like Star Trek or Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica. I want in on this. And they find out from their friends. Because again, I understand the normies, as they're called, or the casual gamers. They're not entrenched like we are, but they're also not boobs. They go to social media. They have Facebook. They have Twitter. They have pick your favorite social media app. They have it, and if it's just done right, Starfield will be plastered on everything. And then they find out this developer direct is happening, and they have, let's say, the Super Bowl is the 1st. You see the commercial, it's viewed 10 million times on YouTube afterwards, because most people watch it and then go to YouTube to watch it again. All right. 2 days later, 3 days later, in that same week after the Super Bowl, they announced their developer direct, and they turn around and say, yes, this is what it is. Look at all this. This is what we're doing. Space, explosions, DLC plan, whatever. Oh, and by the way, 3/23/23. I think there's enough time from February 2nd to the 5th, which would give you all of February and most of March for your advertising. I think there's room to breathe. Did anybody want to jump in and breathe?
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah, talk about it, Daniel.
Yeah, so I'm pretty confident in this. I think that when we get this developer direct on the 25th, I think we'll probably get the release date for Starfield there. Just so that, because they need to have the release date out before they can really start marketing it, right? Because they want to put those banner ads and those YouTube ads all over the place. And I think the only thing you need to have out at that point, because everyone who's going to be targeted by those ads, who are going to be getting video game specific ads on YouTube, or who are going to be seeing banner ads on IGN or something, they already know what a Starfield is, right? Like, if they're going to those two places or they're being targeted by those sort of ads, they know what Starfield is. So I think at this developer direct, I think maybe that's the one more thing, is they're like, Starfield is coming out this date, whatever it is, and then they have the release date and the thing that's just like, tune back in. And I don't think it'll be a long turnaround. I think maybe a week or two before the Starfield specific event. The Super Bowl is questionable. I'm not necessarily expecting there to be a Starfield advertisement there. I think if you look historically at the Super Bowl, there's not usually a video game ad. It's very uncommon. The only time Xbox has ever been there was for the adaptive controller in 2019. And that was,
but Bethesda was there with
but all they had was
SOE.
But all they had was a 30-second ad block that was like, go check out our trailer online. The video games, just for whatever reason, maybe they don't perform well at the Super Bowl or something, but just like typically don't have a lot of things shown off there. PlayStation has done I think the most Super Bowl ads, and it's always been for really weird things.
Yeah.
They had one for the PS2.
You can expect a Spider-Man one. Spider-Man is,
I don't even know that I would expect that, because if you look at the things that the PlayStation has advertised at the Super Bowl, it's been very strange. So for the PS3, the game that they've done basically one a generation. For the PS2, they advertised Jet Li's Rise to Honor, of all things. This is not a joke. This is real human facts. For the PS3 generation, they advertised God of War Ascension, more commonly known as God of War Ass Tension, because it was bad. For the PS4 generation, they did Order 1886, which a lot of people say is underrated, but I think was actually garbage trash fire.
Oh, I love the Order 1886.
Tell us how you really feel, Daniel.
I don't hide nothing. This is why I wouldn't do well on reality TV. And so, I think if they come out, I think at some point they'll probably do an ad for a PS5 game. But if you put it next to those three games that they were advertising, and it turns out that it's Spider-Man, I feel like that's almost like a damning statement to Spider-Man, where it's like, yeah, we're putting Spider-Man 2 on the same level as Jet Li's Rise to Honor, the game literally nobody remembers ever. It's like, I don't know, maybe they could do it. I wouldn't be, the most shocked in the world. I just wouldn't expect it, because PlayStation does it the most. Then it's Nintendo, who's only been there twice. They did it for the Switch, and they did it for the Pokemon 20th anniversary. EA's been there once for, of all things, Dante's Inferno.
I like that game.
Yeah, but like,
I actually quite like that.
But I agree. I know what you're saying.
Right? Like, what is that? They've only done Madden at the Super Bowl once, and it was 2002. I did research on this, if you couldn't tell. So it's very strange. So I wouldn't necessarily expect there to be a Super Bowl ad, but I think it would be a good idea. It's not one of those things where if they weren't at the Super Bowl, I'd be like, I can't believe you weren't at the Super Bowl. But like, if they were there, I think it would be a good idea, because if they're going to announce the release date this month and then have it come out in like March or April or whatever, then that would be one really big beat that they could hit. I don't know necessarily that it would be make or break. I think Starfield has enough play already. They haven't been marketing to the level that I would want them to for it lately, or yet, I should say. But everyone I talk to about video games knows what a Starfield is. Even people who aren't super interested. Like when I was still working at Target, the guy who put our books up didn't know that Bethesda had been bought by Xbox. It was like a year later, and he still he was still like, but I'm gonna buy a PS5 for Starfield, and I was like, maybe don't, because it's not gonna be there. So like,
don't do that.
Yeah, because he was a Bethesda fan, I guess. And so, I think that it is that sort of thing where if they're able to get that release date out earlier rather than later, and they're able to do, even if it's just, the YouTube ads where you go and you click on something to watch someone cook a pizza, and all of a sudden you're watching an ad for Starfield, and then they do the thing where you go to IGN or Polygon or whatever, or The Escapist, and you're getting the banner ads and stuff. I think that's what we're more likely to see. There'll probably be a TV spot. They do those all the time, but just the fact that they haven't even done a Super Bowl ad in all of recorded history. Xbox has never even done a Super Bowl ad for like Gears or Halo or Forza. Like Starfield isn't going to be a big one, but it's like, I don't know, it's a toss up. I wouldn't expect it, but I would be happy to see it.
Yeah.
So I think that I don't know that's something that we should really be relying on. So just to summarize, I think they'll show the release date at this event at the end of the month. Then we'll have 1.5, I guess, full months of just this ad being everywhere. You're going to see it on YouTube. You're going to see it on IGN. You're going to see it in all these places. And then I think it'll come out at the end of March. I think that's what I'm still feeling as being the most likely release date. I know that there's been a lot of people talking about how, like, oh, well, this date in June, like you were saying, this date in June matches up with a lot of the time that we launched these satellites. But also it was in March saying that, like, but this date in March is when the Wright brothers filed their first patent for an airplane or something. Like, you can find dates in any month that would match up with
it's true. But again, this is Todd Howard we're talking about.
Oh, for sure.
And he's got 323 again, it lines up.
It's true.
With why
my boy Todd Howard has a thinly veiled fetish for numbers, and I love him for it. But it just reminds me of that time that they announced the God of War release date on like a random Wednesday, and everyone was like, that makes so much sense because Wednesday is Woden's Day, which is Odin's Day. Of course, they put the release date out on a random Wednesday in a tweet because it's Odin's Day. And I was like, okay, first of all, they could have done it on any Wednesday. And second of all, every day of the week is named after a Norse thing. Thursday is Thor's Day. Tuesday is Tyr's Day. Any of them would have worked. We could have figured it out. Like, so that level of like pairing it up with these dates doesn't necessarily do anything for me. I think the relying on Todd's number fetish is more more applicable, if I'm being honest.
No, I mean, listen, it makes sense. Again, we're not going to know until they tell us. I will say this: I have been very hard on Microsoft's marketing because they have missed more than they have hit. I'm sorry. I have friends at Microsoft. And you know that I am not lying. This is not for clicks. It's not for likes. It's not for subs. This is a reality. They have missed more than they hit. I am not a marketing manager. I do not have a degree, but I have common sense. And if you have a game as big as Starfield releasing in 2023, as soon as we think, or at least I think it's going to hit, and it's not June, it's not May, it's March, it's 3/23/23. There is no... Yeah, again, that's fine.
I'm all alone on this island.
There's no one bigger event that is going to take the dollars spent on your 30 or 60-second ad that's going to be seen by as many people any one given time at any given one event in any one given year than the Super Bowl for the United States. It is one of the premier locations. I talk about this. It's been said by other people on my show. Why does Pepsi and Coke go to the Super Bowl and spend millions upon millions and millions and millions of dollars? Why does Budweiser go and spend all of this money? People know what a Budweiser is. If you're a fan and you drink, that's what you drink. Good on you. If you drink Coke, you know you don't need to be told, oh, Diet Coke, you can go to your store and get it. Holy shit, what a revelation. I didn't know that. Thanks. You know that. So, but Starfield is a new IP. It is the biggest game of the year. I don't care what platform you're on, what you bow to and pray to at night. Starfield is the biggest story in 2023. I don't care what game you put up against it. If I'm Microsoft, I am going big time with this, and the Super Bowl is where I'm landing. Before we get on out of here, I just got to capture some super chats, but I want to grab Umbra's and Josh's opinion on this. Do you think the Super Bowl is the next stop?
Yeah, I mean, Super Bowl makes a lot of sense. The superb owl, yeah, that would be a great that would be a great one, man. That would be a great way to advertise it. They would catch, or at least they would get a break, I think, from myself and others who have complained about their marketing woes. That would be a great spot to do it. I have to tell you though, Boom, that 323 thing, I don't know if I subscribe to it anymore, man.
That's okay.
Let's go. All right, finally, I got somebody on my side.
It's fine. I will die on this hill. I don't care.
I had this discussion on the podcast this past weekend. Me and Pete, Risk is like, "Oh, I'm gonna take your knees, Umbra," and I'm like, "No, I don't think so, my man." So our thought is this, and after you kind of do the math and you look at things, to me, it doesn't seem to line up too well for them to release it earlier, just because March has some big releases. Not to say that Starfield wouldn't do well, especially with it being in Game Pass, but like Scozy pointed out, there's been no advertisement for it yet, and to kind of do that and then get it out in March, it's kind of tight. It still could though, so I can't write it off. But then you have, by the way, March 20th.
Don't fluctuate. You're good.
Oh yeah, I'm going to drive it on home.
Go with what you're going with.
I'm going to drive it on home. So you get spring is March 20th through June 21st, I believe. They said already that Forza Motorsport is set for spring. I don't think you're going to release that and then release Starfield with it. That's one. Now they could go for April, as I pointed out. So there is that possibility. Yep. If they don't, though, then you have May 2nd or whatever the case may be for Redfall. So you don't want to have it too close to that. Then you got June. June has a lot of major releases too. Diablo 4 being a problematic one.
Yeah.
If the ABK situation was done, I would say, yeah, maybe they wouldn't want to kind of step on their own toes, but it's not done. Right. So, and I believe Diablo 4 is set for what, the 12th or something like that, maybe? I'm sure I forgot when it's coming out in June, but there is a chance that they could go to June and release it in the later part of June, and that still will be considered technically the first half, because quarterly for them, the second half, that's the second quarter still for them. That's still part of the first half of the year. So it's a possibility that it could be June, mid-June, late June, and that will
the
still
6th is for Diablo.
There you go. So let's say the E3 is, I believe, June 13th, right?
Yep.
So it could be like, hey, and after this, you can download Starfield June 16th or June 20, whatever, the next week after. It's a possibility. It makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. It gives them more time to do what they have to do. Now, going to that September thing, I've seen that poster that you're talking about, with the guy, what Colt was talking about. I saw it when I was actually talking in the space with Riskit, and Fonz was like, "Could you sing this for me, Umber?" I'm like, "What's that?" He said, "September," and I was like, "Do you remember?" And he said, "What was the lyrics?" He told me, "Starfield's coming out in September." I was like, "Okay, all right, Fonz." So that would be interesting. I don't know. Colt has some connections. I don't know if he's more connected than you on that Scozy, but he has some connections. I know he talks with the higher ups. It's a possibility he may have heard something. It makes some sense, but I do kind of lean towards you. If it was going to be a case where they went to the second half like that, November will probably make more sense than September.
Yeah.
And then you have, of course, maybe Hellblade 2 still might release. So when with that,
that's slated for November. That's been running around for weeks now. That's slated for November.
That could fall. That could also fall into December for them.
It could be. Sure.
So either way, I look at it like June could be the thing for Starfield. If it's not June, it's a slight possibility I can see it going into the second half. So I'm not too sure one way or another. And I had to make a poll about this the other day to ask. I said, what matters more to you, if them making a promise and breaking it by saying, hey, we're going to deliver this game to you in the first half, breaking it because the game is not quite up to snuff for Todd Howard and team, or getting it out there when they promised, but it's still having more issues than they wanted. What mattered more? I believe if I looked at my poll, it's like something around 78% voted giving it a delay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the right call too.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, because you don't want, but you know, they're known as Bethesda, right? Like that's like the meme for them. Look, I'm going to say this publicly: if this game is delayed till the second half of the year, it's going to be disastrous. It is going to. Then that's when the torches and the pitchforks come out
on Twitter.
No,
outside of that,
but for
no
the
one give a
most part,
crap.
you got to start asking what you'll start hearing the management conversation.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you'll hear that, but then as soon as it comes out in November, then those people won't never talk about it again because they don't remember.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, but I hope that's not in fact the case. I don't want to be right just to be right. I want to be right because I want to play the game. N64 Josh, let's get your final opinion on this, because we know that you are the Fallout 4 master, as we know. Well, I mean, what are your anticipations? You're a marketing guy, like that's your thing.
Yeah.
Where do we side, Josh? Where do we have cookies?
Where do we put Starfield? Does it show up at the Super Bowl?
I don't see why it wouldn't at this point. Like I think there's going to be a major marketing blitz. They've already talked about the showcase that we're going to have. The date confuses the hell out of me, honestly. Like every time I try to come up with the
he doesn't know which parent he wants to go home with.
Yeah, exactly. I hope it's earlier than later. Like Xbox fans have been starving and we're ready to eat, you know?
Yeah.
So I hope it's sooner than later. It's a game I'm excited to jump into. I mean, I fire up my Xbox right now to play Halo and Fortnite and Call of Duty, and I would love to get some single player games on my Xbox, you know. And so I lean towards earlier than later. It depends. I think we're gonna. When is this showcase? Right? Is it like they're doing the dev showcase for Starfield? It is the 25th. That was confirmed?
No. The 25th is everything else but Starfield. Starfield is again the rumors. Rumors are early February is what they're saying. And again, that's just rumors. That's nothing confirmed.
I mean, I would say that there's probably my guess would be 90 days after that presentation is kind of where my head is.
But that gets you to June then. Yeah. I mean, listen, look, I just want to play the game, ladies and gentlemen. I will say that this has been a freaking fantastic episode. We had Skullsy TV put under the hot seat, and he delivered, as always. Skullsy, thanks so much for being here, brother. Let me catch up on the Super Chats. Brett Bingham drops a very generous $5 Super Chat and says, what if there is a Fallout Studio collaboration between Bethesda, Softworks, and Obsidian Entertainment? I could see that happening. I could see a dual development. Why not? Would it be Fallout New Vegas 2, or would it be Fallout New York? And they're collaborating. Would it be a big AAA, or would it be a smaller game? That's a great question. Any answers for that, Skullsy?
Yeah, see, that's kind of what I was touching on earlier. That'd be one of the best case scenarios, because everyone, wants Obsidian. Most people want Obsidian to be involved in Fallout a little bit. Because,
yeah, me too.
They do good work, and very similar to Bethesda. So it's like Bethesda shines with world building, environments, and exploration. Obsidian shines, in my opinion, with the open-ended ways you can go about doing stuff. So if they can combine the best of both worlds in a Fallout 5 or New Vegas 2 or whatever it is, that would be the best case scenario. I don't know if they're doing that now, or if they plan on doing it, or anything like that. Unfortunately, there's really no evidence to suggest that could be happening, but it would be great. I would agree. I love it.
While we're dreaming, would you want Brian Fargo in on that mix? Somebody from NXL?
Definitely. That would be the dream team. That would be like the Fallout dream team.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love it. I mean, listen, if Todd Howard could wear a lot of hats, Brian Fargo could as well. Which we know they're doing some big things in Exile. The next big one, I can't wait for them to unveil, which is the Unreal Engine 5 project. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be, from what we understand, vastly different than what they're used to. So I'm very excited for that. Drawn TJ drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, make a Fallout like I Am Legend game. Yeah, I mean, that's technically what they're not loosely based on it, but yeah, it's a single player game with a I mean, I don't know if I would like that, because I like the NPCs. Like, my favorite part of Fallout is the NPCs, and I Am Legend is really based around just one dude left in the world against all of these, these monsters and stuff. So I mean, it's a good thought, Drawn TJ. Thank you for the suggestion, but of course, thank you for the generosity. Luke Skywalker drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, what about in Exile's Brian Fargo made the next Fallout? There you go. Brian Fargo coming into the conversation. Adidas 20 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, hey fellas, remember Microsoft does own the Scalebound IP. They can pass it to anyone to complete. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about that tomorrow night. There's some rumors. A lot of people are talking about it. Is Scalebound coming back? Probably not, but it's going to be a fun conversation nonetheless on the new episode of Primetime Gaming. Scott Gamer Dude drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, hello, Boom and Panel. Great show. I'm trying to find a site for 12-month Game Pass Ultimate cards. Most of the sites he's not comfortable with. Please advise. CDKeys.com
is Slick Deals. You go to Slick Deals, you can actually have them do a search for you, and they'll just send out the emails.
That's a great one. Yeah, slickdeals.com. Yeah, if you type out what you want, they will, and they're legitimate. Like, Slick Deals is like legit site. It's not someone in someone's basement named Ben. You know what I'm saying? That's taking money off the top. It is like legit. And if your name is Ben, I apologize, because I'm going to get some chatter on that. Hey man, my name was Ben. I'm insulted. I'm sorry. But listen, folks, what a great show. I had a lot of fun. I laughed more today than I've done in a long time. Scalzi, brother, sell your brand. Talk about the company you're working for, what you got in the works, where they can check out Scalzi TV, and more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for inviting me again. Always willing to be here. Great panel, great conversation. Always a fun time. Anytime I get invited on one of these, I'm looking forward to it until the day of. So thank you again. Thank you. Yeah, I cover a lot of Bethesda gaming news over on YouTube. YouTube/Scalzi is the URL. I've taken a little bit of time off because the holidays threw me off, but content's coming back. So don't worry, I'll be talking about plenty of these Bethesda topics. And I'm also working over at Once Lost Games. We're making a massive open world RPG that's supposed to be the spiritual successor to the Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall. I'm working with the original creators of the entire Elder Scrolls universe, Ted Peterson, Julian LaFay, VJ Lakshman. So check out Once Lost Games. Yeah, that's basically all my plug. But thank you very much. Is that
spelled like it sounds?
Once Lost Games. Once Lost is one word. So just Once Lost, all one word, no space, and then games, all spelled how it sounds. The name of our game is The Wayward Realms. Nice. There's some trailers out there for it already. We're making a lot of great progress. Very exciting.
That's what consoles is that? Console or PC only?
Right now, we are focusing on PC, but that's not to say that it won't come out on console. We're a little early in development right now. Okay. It's probably going to be a number of years before it's out there, but we are making plenty of progress. But at this point in time, it's a little too early to say if we're going to go on console or not. But yeah.
All right, that's good. Good stuff. Absolutely. Maybe you can get a deal with Microsoft. I love it.
That'd be nice.
That boy be into Game Pass. Retri, sell at Game Pass _daily, brother. You got some new videos coming out. You're going to be busy in the next coming weeks. Talk about it.
Yeah. So anything Game Pass related, guys, we make videos 5 days a week. News, trailers, what's coming out, what's leaving, rumors. I've been doing a lot of newsy type shows that one day Starfield's coming out this date, the next day it completely changes. So if you want to check that out, Game Pass _daily at Twitter and Game Pass daily at TikTok and YouTube. So check us out. Oh, I want to give a shout out real quick to the people playing Fortnite with me from this community. Thank you. We got a bunch of wins and I'm having a blast. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. Good stuff, brother. It's always great playing with the community. I wish I had the time, folks. Like It's hard. 5 days.
They've been asking me about you, Boom. So you're gonna have to come and play Halo or something with us eventually when you get some time.
I definitely gonna do that. But listen, thank you for being here and a part of the show each and every week. Infinite Umbra, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the Xbox Infinite podcast on Friday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What you personally got going on, and when does your next single go?
Yeah, I'm working on that single right now. You know, I got some things behind the scenes still working to try to do and start up my own thing. I got this musician who I got to do my intro and outro. But yeah, it's much more work that has to be done for that. But yeah, I mean, you guys can catch me, of course, on the Xbox Infinite podcast on Fridays at 7:00 Eastern. It's on Risk's channel, so you can find it there. And of course, you can find me on Twitter under Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. And of course, here on Tuesdays with this great cast of people, you know. So yeah, come by, support us, hear our takes, and make fun of Risk's accent,
I love how you guys go back and forth with each other, just like brothers. That's what brothers do. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Tell them that's not a knife.
That's a knife.
That's a knife.
Risky, we love you, brother. We love you. Daniel McG, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the best place for long and short content and where they can find out how to actually produce a good movie in the DCEU. Talk about it, brother. Where can people reach out to you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Daniel J. McG. That's Daniel J. MCG, or on YouTube at just Daniel McG. Right now I'm still working on the long Halloween show for my DCEU rewrite. It's a lot of work. I have it done and recorded, but I want to run it by some friends of mine and make sure it's not too stupid before I upload it. So that's what the delay is being caused by. But it should be uploaded pretty soon, and I'd love to see you guys swing by.
Yeah, well, we love the content. You do, again, it's well researched, it's well thought out, it's passionate. Definitely get over there and check him out on his YouTube channel. And the returning son, N64 Josh, thanks so much for being here, brother. Love the insight, especially your precise Fallout information. You are a scholar when it comes to Fallout, brother. Josh, please sell your brand, brother. Talk about your incredible TikTok phenomenon. I mean, you're huge on there. You got partnerships left and right, center. Best place to find you playing Mario Kart with 1,000 people, which I don't even understand how it happens. Talk about it, brother. Where can people reach out to you on social media?
Guys, I'm N64 Josh everywhere. We did hit 70K on TikTok yesterday, so that was exciting.
Congrats, man.
That is awesome, dude.
I have watched some of your streams. They're a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been my year's been crazy. Guys, I was working 2 jobs at the end of 2022, and I am currently completely self-employed now. I walked away
Good for you, dude. Excellent.
So it's been a wild ride. And I just released an ebook on mastering the art of podcasting. I've been doing this 14
I love it,
years.
dude. That's fantastic.
And the way it's set up is not only do I want to help people, whether they've been podcasting or they're thinking about starting, you can immediately become an affiliate for me. And if you make sales of my book, you get paid to 40% commission. So the way it's set up is to not only help you learn, but also help you earn. And so, yeah, you can find all the information by looking up the new show that I launched. It's called Podcast Prime. And during this episode, I actually got it pushed to all of the other platforms. And it just goes into how podcasting has changed my life. Without podcasting, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you guys. Boom, it was podcasting. I don't know. We've talked about it briefly, but we actually met at E3.
Yes, we did. Yes.
It was just a brief introduction during the Bethesda event with the Iron Lords.
I didn't even get a picture with you, bro, which I didn't know you at the time.
And likewise, I just remember seeing the dude with the mohawk going to get some food from the Bethesda booth, right? And so
Wait, I was there and I saw a dude with a mohawk.
That was probably me. There's not many of them that keep it like as tight as this.
Were you at the Bethesda after party with the barbecue and the?
Yes, I was there.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, so I saw you before we met.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
I love it. Yeah. So Podcast Prime. That's the new show. It just got launched I'm documenting the journey on TikTok of
nice. Good for you, dude.
Basically just teaching. Like I just want this. again, podcasts have truly changed my life, and it's introduced me to so many cool people and so many great opportunities. You know, Bungie invited me to the reveal of Destiny 2 because of podcasting. Like the list goes on and on. Even doing my show live from the floor of E3, like it's unbelievable. And so I just want to start teaching people and helping people out. And even the other thing I'm doing is I've opened up a virtual studio. And so if you have a company or you're not too tech savvy, but you'd love to do your own show, you can contact me. We can get a schedule set up. You come in, talk, I upload your show for you, and you're good to go. So
nice. I love it.
Yeah. So good to be back. I've missed you guys. I've loved you guys. It's been killing me on Tuesdays when I was stuck in marketing meetings that I really didn't care all that much about. And and now we're here talking Xbox again, and I cannot wait for what happens in 2023.
Yeah, it's going to be a good year for everybody. That is definitely for sure. But a shout out to the near 500 people we had here today. Thank you so much for making and growing this channel, folks. We are just 300 and change away from 12K. I would love to get there before the end of the year. The end of the month. My God, the end of the year, I want 15K. I'm sorry, not to be greedy, but hopefully you enjoyed the podcast enough to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. It's just a couple of clicks, folks. Obviously, this channel is run by myself and my wife. We try to do big things for the community in regards to giveaways. We're doing a big one right now. We are giving away 15 copies of Stalker 2. We're buying those out of the monies that we get from both Super Chats and from channel memberships. And we're buying them specifically to make sure that the team that had to be moved out of Ukraine, that is somehow going to finish this game, is going to get their 70%. And again, we're a small channel. I don't see any other channels doing any kind of big giveaways the way we do it. And it's not because we're better. It's because we do this for the love of the community, and giving back is something that's incredibly important to us. 15 copies to that studio. So they get their 70% from Microsoft. And maybe even more. We don't even know. Microsoft might have waived their fee based on their situation. I don't know. Maybe they're taking a lesser portion to give more money to the devs and their families. And it's just our way of kind of paying it forward for the incredible success that we have seen. Real quick, we had Outbreak Gamers, good friend of the program, Web Dave. He says, Starfield Showcase, if it drops in February, plenty of time to do the big push for reserves of collector's editions at GameStop, Best Buy, etc. We also have Master Clowns, X3, good friend, generous friend of the program, who's been a channel member for, oh my God, almost 2 years. And says, thank you, Boom and Panel Master Class Show. Thank you for the support, and of course the the very kind words. And Brett Bingham drops an additional $2 super chat and says, PSA. Age of Empires 2 for console is available to pre-order right now. That's pretty interesting stuff. That means that should be dropping soon. Maybe we even
end
get
a month. Last day.
Yeah. Maybe even get some more information on that. But ladies and gentlemen, a big thank you for making this show what it is. We cannot do it. A big shout out to the incredible chat that we had today. Even more incredible panel that shows up each and every week to talk about it. Shout out to Sculsey for taking the time out of his busy schedule to be here. I just want to say that this is going to be a big year for Xbox. We are going to be covering everything. We do have this Saturday. It's going to be a live podcast with my brother and my two best friends that we do every year. It's our Game of the Year podcast. It's about 90 minutes. It's something we do every year. I think this is the 11th annual one. We used to do it like just nerds and go to someone's house and eat pizza and go over everything. And now we have made it into I believe this is our 5th annual one live on YouTube since we started it. And we give you our Game of the Year and our surprises, and that will be live 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this coming Saturday. So you're going to get an extra show. I'll start the advertising with that. And don't forget, tomorrow night, Primetime Gaming, Hargeet Chani, one of the newest members, will be joining us to talk everything and anything. And one of the big topics is going to be Scalebound, ladies and gentlemen. Is it coming back? Well, I think it should, but under much different scrutiny. They cannot allow Platinum Games, if they decide to let Platinum Games do it, just run rampant. This has to be more tight niche when in development, but we'll see. We're going to get into that in a few other topics.
Capcom.
Give it to Cap. Yeah, I love it. I say team up with Capcom, let them do it. I love the idea. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. We're going to close out the show with something, folks, that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.